Wow, so many! Jack exclaimed. He would have to clear stage 80 125 times to get that many glory points. Jack was excited by the gain. He immediately proceeded to the next stage. The strength of hope was the same as his other inherent skills. It is reset once he entered the stage. Jack cleared that stage with no problem. When he came out, he received 162 glory points. Jack figured this must be another benefit of becoming prefectress. Aside from getting bonus glory points when his rank was upgraded, all the glory points received from clearing the stages are now doubled. He happily continued, clearing one stage after another until he hit stage 85. At that stage, 40 werewolves awaited him. 26 level 80 special elites, 12 level 79 rare elites, and the last two caused his forehead to crease. The last two were level 75 mythical werewolves. Even without access to his Time Sage and Beast Monarch skills, he had no problem dealing with one. But two, that's another matter. Not to mention these werewolf-type monsters became more troublesome when their number increased. He again used his high-damaging skills to eradicate the lower-grade enemies before focusing on the higher grades. With two mythical opponents, he had trouble eliminating all the rare elite werewolves. Their coordination was very good. They used their speed and number to confuse Jack and protect the ones with the lowest health point, allowing them to last as long as possible. In the end, Jack couldn't take out either of the two mythical werewolves after his strength of hope ran out of its 30 minutes duration. Once that happened, the werewolves counterattacked. Jack came out of the stage dejected. Your Majesty reaches stage 85 and still dares to wear a long face? Does your Majesty want to get hooped? Jack heard a familiar voice and saw Gruff there. Hey! Jack called. You call me your Majesty, but you still sound so rude. It is really weird. Just call me as usual. Don't need to add my title. As you wish, kid. Gruff was happy to oblige. If I knew you are in the building, I would have asked for you. I almost run out of challenge points, Jack said. Kid, do you think I'm your personal teller? Gruff huffed. I came here because I heard an Outworlder had just beaten stage 80. This is a first. I figured it must be you. Of course, it is me. But seriously, I do need the challenge points. You said you have a lot of unused challenge points, right? Better give them to me rather than leave them to rot. Rot your ass, Gruff said. I do have a lot to spare, but don't expect me to give them to you for free. Do you want to trade them with your glory points? Dude, I need the challenge points to get the glory points. If I trade them to you, what's the point of getting them in the first place? How about I pay you gold coins for the challenge points? €1. Gruff touched his chin. Seeing that the old warrior didn't outright reject him, Jack seized the chance. It's a good deal, ain't it? You are not using them anyway. It's better to trade them with coins to buy stuff for yourself. Like, for example, a better armor, maybe. Kid, are you making fun of my armor? Damn it. I can't deny yours is much better than mine. I can't believe it was a bit over 1 year ago when I saw you being so happy about getting my spare armor. We natives truly can't keep up with your kind. Gruff sighed. Come on, don't be so melancholic. So, what do you say? I will trade you 1 gold coin for 100 challenge points, Jack said. Kid, aren't you taking advantage of me too much? I was thinking more in the line of 1 gold coin for 1 challenge point. The hell, man? That means I have to pay 84 gold coins just to enter this stage 84 once. Are you kidding me? Be reasonable, man. I'm being reasonable. Alright, considering we are such good friends. I will sell you 1 gold coin for 2 challenge points. Don't make me punch you, man. Wait a minute. You still owe me a punch from that time you tricked me with your brother's quest. My last punch didn't count because it's my hand that was hurt. What are you talking to, Euro? Wham! This time, Gruff reeled from Jack's punch. He didn't suffer damage because Jack didn't use mana manipulation. He felt the pain, though. The hell, kid? What's that for €1? I've told you. It's payback for when you tricked me with your brother's quest. I gave you lots of stuff including challenge points. Weren't we already square on that? €1 when you put it like €, wham! It was Jack who was now reeling from Gruff's punch. The other challengers looked at the two. Were they fighting? Even the nearby guards were confused. Should they come and interfere? But the two were now back to talking like friends. The guards decided to just stay and watch for now. "Now we are square," Gruff uttered. He then massaged his cheek. "Damn kid, your punch hurt me. No wonder you beat stage 84. You are much stronger than me now. I can help you become stronger. Just be my royal agent, you can level up fast like we Outworlders," Jack offered. Tempting, but no. I don't like getting called to a battle at someone's whim. Certainly not by you, Gruff rejected. Jack didn't push the issue. He was just joking. Gruff would have to let go of his high station in the League of Champions if he became Jack's royal agent. So, 1 gold coin for 90 challenge points? I don't have time to play with you. 1 gold coin for 20 challenge points. Take it or leave it, Gruff said. Okay, deal, Jack said. How many can you spare? How many can you afford? Gruff asked back. Do you have 5,000 challenge points? Jack asked again. I have way more than that, Gruff answered. 5,000 then, Jack said, fishing out 250 gold coins from his inventory. He could afford more, but it would take some time to use up these 5,000 challenge points. So, he kept his remaining gold coins in case he needed them. Gruff went ahead with the transaction. He transferred the challenge points into Jack's League of Champions badge. After finishing, he asked Jack, You sure you don't want to become this faction's executive? You can get quite a benefit now that you are a prefectress. No thanks, Jack declined. Gruff shrugged. Okay, I will leave you to it. Thanks, Jack said. I will enter this stage for more times before calling it a day. 4? Oh right. Just so you know, another advantage of being a prefectress is you can now challenge a beaten stage 10 times in a day. So Jack cleared stage 84 another 9 times. And since he had many challenge points, he also cleared stage 83 another 9 times. Adding the 3,300 glory points he originally had, he now had 17,046 glory points in his League of Champions badge. He happily went to the exchange counter to see what he could get with these glory points. He could challenge the lower stages to collect more glory points, but he didn't want to spend too long time here. He still wanted to go to the Order of Magi after this. He was only willing to spend 1 day for these League factions. He didn't want to delay his plan of leaving for the Council of Charites tomorrow. After opening the exchange list, Jack immediately scrolled down directly to the exchange list available for Prefectress. Jack was disheartened. Most of the items on this list were above 10,000 glory points. Some even reach as high as 20,000 glory points. And here he was thinking his 17,046 glory points were a lot. He could only exchange 1 item from this list. He saw 2 companion tokens on the list. One summoned a level 80 rare elite melee warrior, and the other one summoned a level 60 mythical grade melee warrior. Both of these companion tokens cost 20,000 glory points. After briefly studying the list, Jack chose a technique book for the Brave Dancer class. The book cost 12,000 glory points. The skill contained within the book was called Field of Swords. It was an AoE skill that dealt large damage to a large area around him. Since most of his skills were already maxed, he figured he should collect more skills. So, he went to the list for the Angusticlavian and chose 1 technique book there. This book also contained a skill for Brave Dancer. The skill's name was Ghost Sword. It was a melee skill that bypassed all defenses. The technique book cost 4,500 glory points. Jack didn't immediately learn the skills. He contacted Jeannie and informed her that he would be handing these technique books for her to copy first. He would meet her later in the evening. Jeannie also hadn't left for the Council of Elpo, which was the divine faction for God of Hope. Like Jack, she had many things to take care of in the guild before she could leave. Coming out from the League of Champions, Jack headed to the Order of Magi. After a quick greeting with young Janice, Jack went through the portal and arrived at the Challenge Plaza. He entered the obelisk for stage 80. He used the same tactic as during the challenges in the League of Champions. He used the Lightning God Barrage and Judgment of Past Kings to cull the weak enemies, followed up with Strength of Hope for the rest. After clearing stage 80, he was promoted to the rank of Exalted and received 10,000 knowledge points. "Congratulations on being the first Outworlder to become the exalted rank," said the other young Janice, overseeing the challenge plaza. "No reward for me being the first one?" Jack asked. Janice simply gave Jack a smile for a reply. "Are you interested in becoming an executive of this faction?" Janice gave Jack the same offer as Gruff. "No thanks. I barely have any time for myself with my current duties." Jack declined and entered the next obelisk. When he cleared stage 81, the knowledge points he received were also doubled. At stage 85, there were similarly 2 mythical grade opponents to deal with. He tried to separate the two by using Time Realm. With good positioning, the Time Realm he conjured had its edge placed in between the 2 mythical grades, effectively splitting them apart. It would be ideal if he could also keep the rare elites outside and dealt with only 1 mythical grade opponent, but it was impossible to create such an opportunity with all the opponents moving haphazardly. Some rare elites ended up inside his Time Realm's cage together with the 1 mythical grade opponent. He tried to finish this 1 mythical grade inside his Time Realm, but he couldn't do it fast enough. The other enemies outside the Time Realm broke the barrier and entered before Jack could even reduce the mythical grade's health point to half. His damage output was lacking with only his Time Sage spells. In the end, he failed to clear stage 85 as he did in the League of Champions. He repeated stage 84 another 9 times. When he came out, he tried again to enter for the 11th time. He could enter. The honorary Magi title gave him 5 extra times to re-enter conquered stages. Adding his exalted rank, he could enter a total of 15 times instead of 10. He repeated stage 83 another 14th time. With his previously stocked 2,214 knowledge points, he got a total of 17,630 after the endeavors. He went to the exchange list and saw that the items within the exalted section similarly needed over 10,000 knowledge points to exchange. This was a mirror faction to the League of Champions, after all, so it wasn't strange. There were even crystals in the list here that provided special classes for classes that branched from mage. They were all normal special classes, though. These special classes had a limited quantity of them. The quantity would decrease when someone exchanged these crystals. These crystals were among the most expensive items on the list for Exalted. Jack thought about buying one of the crystals for Genie to copy for their guild members. But after some internal struggle, he decided he wasn't that altruistic. He prioritized getting items that he could use, which were spells. There were plenty of spells to choose from the list. There were telekinesis, invisibility, and another spell he was interested in after browsing was an offensive spell called Mana Bombs. This spell was like the weakened version of his lightning god barrage. He wanted all of them, but he only had enough knowledge points to choose one for now. He did need to increase the offensive capability of his Time Sage class to better beat this faction's challenge stages. But he decided the other 2 spells provided better versatility in dealing with the problems in the outside world. After a long thought, he finally chose invisibility, which cost 13,000 knowledge points. He then went back to the exchange list for the renowned rank and bought the lightning mine he had been eyeing. This lightning mine could be fused with his lightning strike spell to become a different spell. This lightning mine cost 3,700 knowledge points. With only 930 knowledge points left in his Order of Magi badge, he left the place and used the guild return scroll to teleport to Heavenly Citadel. Genie was waiting for Jack inside the guild hall. She and Tip were managing the guild using the control platform. Grace was there as well. She was chatting with Captain Whitebeard. Jack had promised her that they would be leaving together for the Council of Charites tomorrow morning. Jack came to Genie and gave her the 4 technique books. Genie looked at the books with a complicated feeling. She was happy that the guild got more arsenal to strengthen its members. But at the same time, she felt the strain on their mana core needs. "Do you have any mana cores to copy this so I can learn them now?" Jack asked her. Genie gave him an annoyed look, which confused Jack. He was wondering if he had done something wrong. "These are all unique grade technique books. I only have enough to copy one of them. Which one do you want to learn?" "Oh, Hayuro, such a pity," Jack thought. His eyes turned to Grace, who caught his meaning. Grace said, "I already gave you all of mine during the war." "I've donated all of mine to Genie," Tip said without being asked. Jack accepted the fact that he could only learn one of the books before leaving for the Council of Charites. The others would have to wait until he returned. This one then, Jack pointed. Jeannie stored 3 of the 4 books. She then activated her divine ability and copied the one Jack had picked. She handed the copy to Jack after completing the task. Jack accepted the book and learned it without delay. Invisibility, level 120th active spell. The caster becomes invisible. Will become visible again if get into combat status, being touched by players, NPCs, or monsters. Duration, 30 minutes. Cooldown, 3 hours. Mana 100. He still had 300,000 souls inside his container of souls. He used them and upgraded the spell to level 4. Each level increases the spell's duration by 1 minute. At level 4, the duration was 33 minutes. I don't have mana cores to copy the other books, but I have a different book for you, Jeannie said and took a technique book out of her inventory. I copied it some time ago but never got the chance to give it to you. When Jack used his inspect, he found the book contained a skill meant for Beastmaster. The skill's name was Beast Tantrum. Thank you, Jack said and accepted the book. He had the avenues to get Blade Dancer and Archmage skills but not Beastmasters. He would have to rely on kill drops or quests for that. Hence, he was happy when Jeannie gave him one. Jack learned the skill and then opened his skill page to study its description. Beast Tantrum level 120 active skill, Pet's attributes plus 100%. Pet's defenses, attack speed, and movement speed plus 50%. Every 30 seconds, remove 1 negative status effect afflicting the pet. Duration, 5 minutes. Cooldown, 30 minutes. Stamina, 120. It's a skill that empowered their ass. This should give his pet an added edge when needed. Jack talked with Jeannie for a while about the state of the guild before going to the spacetime chamber to sleep. He planned to abuse his authority again and use that chamber for sleeping. But once he entered the chamber, he knew his plan was botched. Even with the enlarged space, there were still so many members training inside, and they were all noisy. He wouldn't be able to sleep peacefully under such a condition. He ran to the corner where Yurin, Tenka, and the 2 nightmares were at. Fewer members were there since they knew they were not allowed to disturb the nightmares, but the noise was still heard. He also saw Bowler and the man there helping the satyrs take care of the nightmares. The nightmares themselves seemed larger than the last time Jack saw them. Considering they spent all their time inside this chamber, it was not weird. The time difference had them practically living for more than 2 years already since then. Jack asked Yurin if she or the nightmares were bothered by the noise. He would use this excuse to chase out the players from this chamber if so. Unfortunately, Yurin said that she didn't mind. She even felt like the cacophony of sounds from the members training here made her feel like they were back in their village. She informed Jack that satyrs were a noisy race. Jack didn't know since he didn't spend much time in their village during his visit to the underworld. Yurin assured Jack that the nightmares were also comfortable with the noise. Jack was dejected. Since he couldn't find a reason to abuse his authority, he didn't push it. He introduced Grace, who had followed him, to Yurin, Tenka, Sol, and Fyra. Grace easily became friends with the 4, especially the 2 nightmares. After chatting for a while, Jack excused himself to retire to the lodging quarters. Grace stayed to play with Sol and Fyra a while longer. Jack reminded her to not stay too late. They would be leaving early tomorrow morning. Before he left, he looked at Bowler and the man. Those 2 seemed awfully close to the 2 nightmares and their custodians. He wondered what they were up to, but as long as they stayed respectful to these 4 guests, he didn't mind. He forgot about the 2 and left. The next morning, Grace was already waiting at the guild courtyard. Jeannie and Peidoin were there to send them off. The 2 would also leave for the Council of Elpo the next day. Jeannie still had some matters to attend to today. Jack checked the coordinates John had given them for the location of the Council of Charites. It was located in the Sylvan region, which was the border region between Orbor, Liguridium, and Hydrorond. They practically had to cross the enemy territory to reach there. It shouldn't be a problem since it was only the 2 of them. They would not enter any of the territories occupied by the enemies. Instead, they would cross through the Dorwin region, another no-man's land. In this way, they should avoid detection. This was not the first time Jack and Grace went through the Dorwin region. This region was where the Lost Forest was located. This region was also where Oswald spent his time before he was called into Greed's chamber. Oswald now stayed behind in Nareth. He was no longer a fugitive. The previous council of Virtus was no more. The only grudge the new council under Mihos and Pallas was interested in was against the cult of Phobos. Abdu was no more, and Abasai was not among the orcs in charge of VRMMO anymore. So VRMMO also no longer after him. The only one who still had a bounty on him was his previous employer, the Assassin's Guild. But Genie had helped smooth the matter over with that faction. Their status as a national guild entitled them some respect even among the native factions. After paying a few gold coins, the bounty on Oswald was lifted. Oswald was enjoying his freedom in Nareth, which was now a bustling megalopolis. Grace asked him to not get overindulgent in his celebration. She expected his level to continue increasing so he could be of use when she needed him. Jack rode Pandora and traveled on land instead of flying in the sky. Pandora's speed in the sky was faster than Grace's unique-grade unicorn, so Pandora ran on the ground to match the unicorn's speed. The unicorn could release an aura from its horn that calmed all the monsters in its surrounding, making them consider the unicorn as their ally. But this ability had a cooldown. There was a half-hour gap where this ability expired and before it could be used again. With it running alongside Pandora, there was no need for the unicorn to use this ability. The unicorn itself was unaffected by Pandora's fear. It ran close to Pandora without a problem, which actually made Pandora feel a bit offended. She continued to huff while running. Grace's unicorn paid her no mind. The Dorwin region was extremely vast. It was almost the size of one country, and they were traveling the elongated path along this region to get to the Sylvan region. With Pandora, they traveled without the worry of being interrupted by monsters. Except at some certain areas where extremely high-level monsters existed, Penuel guided them to take a roundabout way. They were not exactly in a hurry, so when they saw new monsters, Jack still made the time to hunt those monsters. The wooded topography of the region made the two steeds unable to move at full speed. Thus, even with their exceptional steeds, it still took 9 days before they entered the Sylvan region. The wooded landscape of the Dorwin region changed to terrains filled with rocky hills and trees. The trees were not as large as the ones in the Dorwin regions, but they still gave the region a feeling of lush nature. The two saw lots of flying monsters above, more than what they saw in any other areas. Penuel informed them that this region and the Daflu region were the two regions crowded with avian-type monsters. The Daflu region was where the Council of Elpo was located, where Genie and Padawan were heading. It was between Ligurididum, Hydrorond, and Palgrost. These two places were the ideal spots for those with the bloodline that needed avian monster essences like what Fierce Flame had. Jack sent the message to Tip so he could inform their guild members. Jack transformed into his supreme dragon form and flew up to slay at least one new avian monster for his monster book. Grace followed Jack to the sky by using angelic possession. When Jack realized Grace had been following him in the sky for a period longer than the duration of angelic possession, he noticed the wings behind Grace were different. The wings were silvery green. "You have wings, Tool?" Jack asked. "It is a gift from God Greed," Grace answered. "He is truly nice to you," Jack remarked. "Are you jealous?" Grace teased. "Nope," Jack uttered and flew away to hunt nearby monsters while Grace giggled. The coordinates John gave were not too far from where they entered the region, so it was only 3 days before they arrived near the coordinates. The two stared at the thick mist that covered the trees ahead. "Do you sense it?" Jack asked. "Yes. This mist is unusual," Grace answered. The two sensed that the mist ahead of them was formed of mana. They had been staring at the mist for a while. It didn't diminish nor did it move. It just stayed there as if it was stuck in place. "The location John gave is behind this mist," Penuel said. "Let's circle the place. See if there is a way to reach there without going through this mist." So, they walked in a circle while referring to the coordinates on their maps. After making one full circle, they understood that the mist covered all the paths into the coordinates. The mist covered even the canopies of the trees. Grace flew up using her wings tool and surveyed from the sky. They would still have to enter the mist if they entered through the sky. What should we do? Grace asked. It is pretty obvious this mist is intentional. If the Council of Chairite's base is behind this mist, then I bet this mist is its entrance. So, we just enter Euro? Grace asked. Of course, Jack said. When he was about to walk into the mist, Grace held him and asked, Are you not afraid something bad will happen if we just enter like this? This is the base of one of the good gods. One represents joy, even. I bet they have all the fun stuff waiting for us. We just need to show them that we are Hope's representatives and we are here with good intentions. I'm sure they will receive us with open arms. I'm not sure, Euro, I have a bad feeling about this mist, Grace said. You worry too much. Look, all we need to do is just announce our intention before we enter. Jack then shouted with a loud voice. Good people of the Council of Charites, my name is Stormwind, and this is Grace. We come in peace. I repeat, we come in peace. We carry Hope's sanctification, and we are here to warn you about a possible threat. All we want is just a talk. We will be entering now. Jack gave Grace a reassuring look before saying, I will be entering first. He then walked into the mist. Sometimes I admire his boldness. Sometimes I just want to smack him, Penuel said. She was staying behind with Grace. Let's hope he is Euro. Penuel's words ended when her body was suddenly yanked and she vanished. Grace had seen such a thing happening before. This meant that Jack had entered another dimension within the mist, rendering his distance from Penuel too far, and Penuel was forcefully teleported to where he was. Grace took a deep breath and entered the mist. As she did, Grace felt as if she had fallen into a bottomless abyss. She couldn't see anything. She realized then that she was closing her eyes. When she opened them, she found that she was in a dimly lit dungeon. She tried to move but discovered that her arms and legs were bound by chains. What a Euro! While she was trying to make sense of what had happened, she saw there were others in this dungeon. They were similarly bound. A hoarse voice greeted her from above. She looked up and saw a grinning face that was formed of vines. Well, it looks like we have another participant. Excellent. Let's wait for 2 more. Then we can finally begin our game and have some fun. At Death Associates' new guild headquarters in Orbor, Red Death and Blackjack stood outside its gate entrance. This is Death Hall? Standing beside them was an elderly draconian female. She was Black Death, the original leader of Death Associates. Yes, it is originally in Themisphere. White Death relocated the headquarters here because he offended the Themisphere Kingdom. It has been a mess since he took over leadership. With Aunt Clara back, we should be able to get the guild back on track. I doubt Theta Euro, Black Death said. Her gaze was on the wall of players formed outside Death Hall's gate entrance. The expressions on their faces didn't show delight or relief for having their leader returning to them. Neither she nor Red Death even recognized most of the faces that formed this human wall. But as more players came out of the headquarters, some familiar faces with friendly expressions finally grazed them. Leader! Red! Blue Death called and pushed past his guild members. Several players followed him, including Scarface and Stonecleave. Where have you been all this time? Blue Death asked Black Death. It's a long story, Black Death answered. It's good to see you back again, ma'am, Scarface said. The other members that came with the two expressed the same sentiment. Blue Death turned to Red Death and said, You've finally returned. Red Death simply nodded at the remark. Don't worry, we will sort this misunderstanding, Blue Death assured her. Misunderstanding? She is a traitor to our guild. That fact is crystal clear. Killing Red, who was amongst the players forming the wall, exclaimed, What are you people doing buddying up with a traitor? Do you lot plan to betray our guild as well? Watch your mouth, Scarface scolded. You are before our true leader. True leader. White Death's voice was heard. The players forming the wall split to provide a path and White Death walked out. Beside him were Yellow Death, Green Death, Violet Death, Big Arm, Earmouth, and Grimclaw. I'm afraid that is not what this world system acknowledges, White Death said with a faint smile. Siriuro, but she is our leader, Blue Death uttered. White Death ignored Blue Death. He instead asked everyone, those of you who think of her as the leader of Death Associates, you're welcome to stand over by her side. None of the players who formed the human wall moved. Black Death shook her head. Wayne, I know you've always been ambitious. You are just too cautious that you never vie for the top place out of fear of becoming a main target. Have you finally grown a pair that you dare to show your fangs? Wayne was White Death's real name. White Death grinned wider at the mockery. Madame Clara, you might think that is shameful, but I believe being the second in command allows me to better survive. That, of course, as long as you choose the correct leader. So, what makes you change your mind? Black Death asked. I don't, White Death answered. I've simply chosen to follow another leader. A better one. A stronger one. Someone who can finally give us a piece of a world, so that our guild can become one that we have always aimed to be. With my guidance under this new leader, our guild will reach a height that is never achievable when you are in charge. So, you choose to downgrade from a second in command to a lackey of another organization? This is the height you say will elevate our guild. Red Death mocked. I don't need to listen to a traitor's words. White Death returned. His smile never diminished. You people, have you all forgotten who your true leader is? Blue Death shouted. He couldn't believe that everyone supported White Death. Have you forgotten how we all fought together under Black Death's guidance and grew to become one of the most feared guilds in gaming history? No one from the opposite side showed any reaction to Blue Death's words. This is absurd. Black Death is the true leader of Death Associates. Certainly, there is a way to get her acknowledged, Blue Death uttered. Scarface sighed. I think he has made preparation. Look at the guild's high-rank positions, he said. A guild's high-rank positions consisted of the leader, co-leaders if any, counselors, and officers. For the main leader to be ousted, a unanimous decision is needed from all the players in those positions except the leader. Currently, all the players who held these ranks were players loyal to White Death. Even Scarface and Blue Death weren't included in these ranks. They considered these ranks as superficial, so they didn't truly care when White Death demoted them. Now only did they understand the reason. White Death had known all along that they never truly accepted him as their true leader. Honestly, I never expect you to just hand over the reign after you taste the power of being the main leader, Black Death said. I'm here simply to call those who are still loyal to me, which I must admit are much fewer than I hoped for. Less than 200 players were standing next to her. Never mind. When I built Death Associates, it is with fewer members than this. I will make do. Let's go, Black Death said. She turned around and started walking. Scarface and Blue Death looked at one another. They looked at Black Death, who was walking away. They made their decisions then. They opened their guild page and quit Death Associates. They then followed after Black Death. The others who had followed them did the same after seeing their leads. Hold! White Death called, which caused Black Death to stop. Black Death turned back and asked, What is it? Have you changed your mind? Hee hee. White Death's grin turned wicked. I've been preparing for this. I've been waiting for you to show up. All so that you can help me pluck out these members who are just loyal to me on the surface. Now, this guild can truly be mine. I thank you. But I, of course, cannot just let you all go just like this. The players who formed the human wall spread out. They were getting into a formation that surrounded Black Death's group. I know you will never get over me for taking the guild from you. You will certainly devise a plan to get back at me. White Death continued. To eliminate future problems, it is better that I reduce all of you to level 1 today. Red Death brandished her twin crimson daggers. Every Death Associates member knew that she would be the most troublesome opponent. Both her weapons and armor looked like set equipment. Her class description was also not the standard elite class, which indicated she had a special class. Her level was also at the very top of most expert players, level 69. Aside from her, the two she came with also possessed unusual classes. Black Death was a Mad Demonologist class, a first-class special class from Warlock. Blackjack's class was Wild Slayer, a second-class special class from Assassin. After Wrath released Black Death from captivity, Black Death helped Red Death carry out the goddess tasks. Red Death also called Blackjack over to help her. Blackjack had been waiting for Red Death in a nearby settlement. Seeing how efficient the three were when they worked together, Wrath granted Black Death and Blackjack special classes. Specifically for Black Death, she let her use a special dimension in her sanctum designed for training. Using that dimension, Black Death leveled up fast. She had lost a lot of time during her captivity, so her level was very low when she was released. Even with the fast leveling speed from the special dimension, her level was still below the average players. She was currently at level 61. As for Blackjack, he was level 68. Red Death used her companion token and summoned Rain, her level 78 rare elite companion. Since they want to fight, let's force our way inside and destroy the guild core inside. This headquarters will then be ours. Red Death exclaimed with fervor. Unfortunately, that is not possible, Scarface said. We have done extensive research on guild headquarters. If a guildless player destroys the guild core, that player only has two options. Destroy the headquarters or loot the vault within. You have to be in a guild to take over another guild's headquarters. All of us are guildless at the moment. Ha ha ha. Impressive confidence, but we far outnumber you. Or do you think you are that storm wind asshole? White Death asked. He also took out a companion token. He activated the token and a level 70 rare elite elven mage appeared beside him. That token was a gift from Mistress for their assistance during the battle in Hydrorond. White Death himself was a Reaper, a second-class special class from Reaver. The two deaths behind him, Green Death and Violet Death, also had special classes. Green Death was Tree Shepherd and Violet Death was Earth Lancer. Both were normal special classes. Green Death also had a companion token, which summoned a level 67 special elite dwarven warrior. Although Red Death still wore a spirited expression, the others didn't share her enthusiasm. Thousands of opponents were surrounding them. They were not even 200. They were fully aware that they were not Jack who could take on a force with such a large difference in number. You think you can take us on with that pitiful number of yours? Try it then, White Death said and gave the command. Crush them. When Death Associates players were about to lunge, a powerful voice stopped them. Halt a Euro! Everyone's ears hurt from the voice. Red Death sensed strong mana accompanying that voice. She controlled her mana to protect her ear. Everyone turned to the source of the voice and saw a draconian in a battle monk garb sitting atop Death Associates' entrance gate. Everyone wondered, when did this draconian climb up there? Nobody saw him when they walked out the gate. Misa Euro, Mr. Longa Euro, White Death uttered. After Wong left, Long was free to hang around Master's inner circle. White Death had seen this draconian and knew that he was one of Master's heavenly enforcers, which meant he was one of Master's top combatants. Anyone who lays a hand on my martial sister will have to answer to me, Long said. Maruro, martial sister? White Death asked. Instead of answering, Long jumped down. He then walked forward. The low-level players might not recognize Long, but seeing how their leader acted so cautiously around this man, they knew he was not someone they could offend. Hence, everyone moved aside and let him pass. Long walked past them toward where Red Death was. Blackjack, who was beside her, shrunk away when Long approached. Blackjack was also one of Wong's disciples. During his time in Wong's dojo, he didn't have a good memory of Long. He was always bullied by this man. Hey, Auntie! Long greeted Black Death. Black Death replied with a simple nod. Red Death once brought Long to join Death Associates when it was just established. That was before White Death and the others joined. Long quickly learned all the game mechanics but didn't stay for long. He was not interested in gaming. To him, beating up his opponents in real life was much more satisfying than beating them in-game. I don't need your help, Red Death said. I know. I am helping Aunt Clara, Long said. Let's go. Long lead them away. Red Death glanced in White Death's direction before following. Though she wanted very much to stab that man, she knew all the others with her would mostly die if a fight ensued, including her aunt. So, she held herself back and followed the others. Death Associates players turned to White Death with uncertainty. Are we truly letting this people go? Their expression asked. White Death's face was dark. He didn't expect one of Master's top followers to support Red Death. Didn't Red Death help Stormwind? Who was Master's nemesis? Why did this long fellow help Red Death? White Death was not aware of Red Death assaulting Jack and killing him once during the battle on the cliff. He thought she was still Jack's accomplice. Whatever the reason, he didn't dare defy a heavenly enforcer. He just stared with gritted teeth as Black Death and the others moved away. Once they were out of danger, Long said, "They shouldn't dare to attack you all for some time, but try not to antagonize them until you lot are strong enough. I won't bother to help a second time." "Thank you, Long," Black Death said. "I just happened to be in the neighborhood. Consider yourself lucky," Long replied. "Long, where is Master Wong? I heard he quit your guild," Red Death asked. "He did after I beat him again," Long answered. Red Death frowned. "Why did you do that?" "Because I like seeing his miserable face when he lost." "Do you have a problem with that? Why don't you just be honest with him?" "What happened was an accident," Red Death said. "He pushed you too hard and you just want to prove to him that you can meet his expectations and surpass him. You simply got carried away and unintentionally broke his legs. If you are willing to explain to him, I'm sure he will. Shut up, Euro, Long bellowed. His eyes were staring at Red Death with strong killing intent. As willful as Red Death was, she couldn't deny that she was terrified at that moment. "You people take care of yourself," Long said and left. He didn't look back. Red Death was silent as she watched Long's back. After Long was gone, Scarface asked Black Death, "What should we do now?" "We will go to the guild hall and form a guild. We will then go and get ourselves headquarters," Black Death answered. "How do we get headquarters?" "All the available spots have been taken," Scarface asked. "Although I didn't expect White Death to be so heinous that he tries to eliminate us, I do expect him to not step down from the current guild. I come here simply to recruit members who are still willing to follow me. I've already made plans. We have two options. One is easier than the others. Recently, one of Themisphere's settlements has become a main city. A bandit outpost should appear near that city. If we can defeat it before another guild does, we will get our headquarters." "No, not Themisphere," Red Death uttered. Black Death didn't ask her why. She continued, "The second option is harder, but reaps more reward. If we get headquarters by defeating a bandit outpost, we will start from scratch. But if we defeat another guild's headquarters, we can keep the headquarters and its surviving guild army will become ours." "Can we do it with our number?" Stonecleave asked. "We will go to Hydrorond," Black Death said. "That country had just undergone a regime change. Everything is in chaos. I've studied the guilds there. There is one we can exploit and defeat even with our small number. We will take over their spot as one of the guilds with headquarters in Hydrorond." "As expected of our true leader," Blue Death uttered. "We will regain our glory, and then we will show those traitors back there who are the true Death Associates." "What a coincidence," Black Death chuckled. "That is what I intend to use for our guild's name, True Death Associates." Inside a dimly lit and damp dungeon, Jack was sitting on the ground. His arms and legs were chained. He tried using his skills to break free from the chains, but he couldn't activate any of them. They must have entered a constructed dimension where preset rules were enforced to restrict the usage of skills. However, it was not only Jack's skills that were inaccessible. All his equipment had also been forcefully stripped and sent back into his inventory. All he wore now was a ragged shirt and pants. He could check his inventory, but he couldn't take anything out from there. He also couldn't access his status window or send messages. All he could rely on was just his own body. Jack tried using mana manipulation to try to break his chains, but the chains were too strong. "Can you please stop that? The noise is irritating," a man who was chained next to Jack said. Jack was not the only one in this dungeon. There were 8 others like him. He couldn't use his inspect skill, but he could identify using his mana sense that 5 out of the 8 were players. The other 3 were natives. "I'm trying to break free," Jack said to the man who was a player. I can see that. You are just wasting your time. Don't you think we would have done so if we can? I have a much higher strength stat than normal players, Jack said and tried to yank the chain another time, unsuccessfully. The man huffed mockingly at Jack's words. A woman from Jack's other side joined in the conversation. She was also a player. Look, I am an orc and I have the berserker class. I also greatly invest in my strength stat. Even I can't break these chains. Jack stopped yanking. Not because of what the others said. It's because he had tried and the chains were indeed extremely sturdy even for his strength. Piniella Euro? Jack asked in his mind. He didn't see the fairy. I'm here, Penul's voice answered. Where? Inside my hidden dimension. Somehow I can't get out. It must be because of this constructed dimension. I'm considered a skill, so you can't summon me. I see a Euro. Do you know whether this dungeon is the base of the Council of Charites? Nope, Penul answered. Jack asked Penul a few more questions in his mind, but the fairy was as clueless as him. Since he was bored, he tried to converse with the people there. How long have you all been in here? The man who first spoke to Jack answered, Very long. I can't even remember. He turned to the side. Hey, Richard. Do you remember how long we have been locked here? The player who was called Richard shrugged. 2 months, I think? 2 months. Jack thought with worry. He couldn't afford to get locked up for that long. Many things needed his attention out there. Do you know what this place is? Jack asked again. Is this the base for the Council of Charites? The Council of Wataeuro? I have no idea what you are talking about, man. Jack looked at the others and saw that most ignored him. The woman berserker shook her head, indicating she didn't know as well. He didn't see Grace among these people. Did she not follow him in? But then he thought about when he was trapped inside Greed's sanctum. No, Grace definitely followed him in. Even if she couldn't at first, she would try to find her way in. Which meant she would get trapped too. Jack sighed. Perhaps he had been too reckless. But this was supposed to be the base for one of the good gods. Why did it become a place that trapped people? Jack looked up and called loudly, Hey, Vine Face! The others were startled by his sudden yell. What the hell are you doing? Richard's friend asked, alarmed. Jack ignored him. He continued to call with a loud voice. Vine Face, are you there? I have something to ask. Stop it. Richard also joined in the warning. Jack ignored them and continued shouting. The vines creeping along the ceiling of the dungeon started moving. The others moved away when it happened. They pressed themselves onto the wall, trying to get as far away from those vines. Their eyes were terrified. The vines gathered and formed the face which had given them the announcement when Jack first appeared here. The face was grinning as it was before. Yes, participant? What do you want to ask? The face asked with a cheerful tone. Is this the base for the Council of Charites who worship the goddess of joy? I wish to speak to one of its divine priestesses. Agli, Euphysine, or Talia. Those divine priestesses were the joined leaders of the Council of Charites. John imparted this knowledge to Jack before he left. The face on the ceiling had a moment of surprise that lasted only briefly. It was back to its cheery expression in an instant. Interesting. One of our participants seemed to know this place. So, you've come here on purpose then. Unfortunately, our divine priestesses are occupied. They can't attend to you, but you will meet one of them when the game begins. What game? When does it begin? Jack asked. Once we get 2 more participants. The game can only be played when all the spots for the 4 teams are filled up. For teams, does it mean we here is one team? What do we play in the game? Everything will be explained when the game starts. You should tell us more about it, so we can prep a Euro. Wait for when the game starts a Euro. The friendly vine face suddenly turned into a horrifyingly scowling face. One of the vines forming the face snapped at Jack. Jack's reflex and mana sense allowed him to dodge this attack, but the chains restricted his movement. He couldn't avoid a second vine that followed, and it entangled Jack's neck. Akayuro! The vine tightened its grip and strangled Jack. Damage number popped up as the vine tightened its grip. Jack's health point bar decreased slowly due to his high pool of health point. The vine probably wanted to let go when Jack's health point reached a critical state, but it lost patience because it took too long and released Jack by smashing him into the wall. Jack coughed from the punishments. The vine face returned to its cheery version again as if nothing had happened. Please sit tight and enjoy your time with each other before the game starts. The grinning face was deconstructed and the vines returned to crawling randomly on the ceiling. We have warned you, Manayuro, Richard's friend said. It was not a total loss, Jack said. We learned that this place is truly the Council of Charites. You are nuts, man. What's good is it to know what this place is? By the way, what's your name? I am Stormwind, Jack asked the player who first talked to him. They couldn't use inspect, so they had to resort to old-style question and answer. My name is Stefan, that player answered. Richard said, but Jack already knew him. I'm Naomi, the berserker woman informed. Most others ignored Jack's question. When one of the natives was about to introduce himself, a flash of light happened right beside Jack. When the flash ended, an ethereal player was there in chains. The vine face appeared again and announced, We have ourselves another participant, so soon since the last one. Perhaps we can begin this game soon. One more and we are a go. Jack wasn't paying attention to the announcement because his attention was all on the newly arrived ethereal player. The player was not wearing any armor and ethereal's faces looked almost the same from one another. Still, Jack recognized this player. This newly arrived player was Master. Stefan, Richard, and Naomi watched Jack, who was staring at the newly arrived ethereal like a statue. What's the deal with this guy? Had he never seen an ethereal before? There was indeed no one from the ethereal race in this dungeon before this newcomer, but this region was right next to the country filled with the ethereal race. Additionally, many players could cross countries now. It was unlikely if Jack never saw an ethereal before. Jack continued to stare at Master, or at least an ethereal he thought to be Master, for a very long time. Master's eyes showed surprise when he saw Jack here, but he ignored Jack after that first glance. He continued ignoring Jack, but Jack had been staring at him for so long that it caused even him to become uncomfortable. Knock it off, Master scolded. Holy shit, it truly is you, Jack exclaimed. Now that he heard Master's voice, he was sure. Even though ethereal's voices were transmitted directly into the interlocutor's mind, different ethereals still had their distinctive voices. Why are you here? Jack asked, to which Master was back to ignoring him. The native, who Jack thought was about to introduce himself before being interrupted by Master's appearance, spoke now. You said just now your name is Stormwind. Are you King Stormwind? Our king. That native who spoke was a human. If he is a king, then I'm a pope. Haha. Stefan laughed. Richard joined the laugh. Jack ignored them. He answered the human, who looked to be a teenager. Yeah, I am. What's your name? How do you get trapped here? I am Kramer, the teenager answered. I'm here with a group of adventurers. We were lost when we enter a mist inside a forest. I just found myself in this place afterward. Please, my king, free us from this place. Come on, kid. Do you truly believe him to be the king? You are plain dumb if you do, Stefan said. But I did hear that the current king of Themisphere is an outworlder named Stormwind, Naomi said. Then he just happens to have the same name, Stefan replied. I heard we can't use the same alias as others, Richard said. A friend of mine told me before that he tried entering the alias hero when he got his starting class, but the system told him that the alias was already taken and he had to choose another alias. Then he is just borrowing the name of a famous person, Stefan exclaimed, annoyed for everyone second-guessing him. He turned to Jack and uttered, Didn't you? Umayuro, this guy is the ruler of Liguridium. Jack pointed to Master. See? What is the odd the sovereigns of two powerful countries get trapped inside here with the rest of us? I mean, how stupid are they? No way that they are sovereigns. Ha-ha! Jack laughed awkwardly. I think I deserve that. You, on the other hand, Euro, Jack turned to Master. You are after the divine heritage here, aren't you? Master's eyes returned to Jack for the second time. Jack saw a hint of surprise again inside those pupilless eyes. You want that thing to make another god killer, aren't you? Jack continued. I won't let you. How do you know all that? Master asked. Is it because of that high fairy? Where is she? You don't need to worry about her. Just know that you won't get what you come here for, Jack said. Humph. Master harumphed and turned away. Why are you here alone? You don't strike me as someone who does the dirty work yourselves. Why you didn't send your lackeys? Master was back to ignoring Jack. Jack tried asking him again a few more times, but Master acted as if he didn't hear anything. Jack finally gave up and back to converse with the other captives that were here before him. With Master, there were 10 of them. Stefan and Richard were Draconians. Stefan was a hidden weapon specialist, while Richard was a Reaver. Naomi was an Orcish berserker, as she mentioned before. The other 2 players were Winston and Dina. Both were of Elven race. Winston was a bard, while Dina was an archmage. The 3 natives were Kramer, the human teenager, Glover, a male orc, and Carrie, a female elf. All 3 were adventurers from different teams. They talked, then slept, then talked again. Around 1 day passed since Jack arrived. He couldn't tell for sure since there was no night and day inside this dungeon. Throughout the chatting, Jack threw Master some questions. Master just ignored him. I must say, this place turns much livelier after you are here, Richard said to Jack. Noisy is what it should be called. You all are disturbing my rest, Winston uttered. He acted like those typical grumpy old men. To Diuro you are chained. You are practically resting all the time, Jack said. Jack then turned to Stefan and Richard. You 2 truly have been here for 2 months? Jack asked. Yeah, Stefan answered. Some of them were already here even when we arrived. That means they have been here longer. I have been longer, Dina said. I can't remember exactly. 1 or 2 weeks earlier than the 2 of them, I suppose. Winston was here before me. Wow, no wonder he is so grumpy, Jack remarked, which caused Winston to throw him an irritated glare. The 3 natives were mostly quiet except for Kramer. Kramer still thought Jack was his king even though the others continued to persuade him otherwise. Glover and Carrie only answered when they were asked. They were gloomier than the players. It was understandable considering they were not immortal. Uhayuro, anyone has tried killing themselves to get free of this place? Jack asked. How? We can't damage ourselves without our weapons, Stefan uttered. Oh right. None of them is a battle monk, Jack thought. Jack also didn't think any of them know mana manipulation. You can ask the natives to hit you, Jack said. Kramer here can do it. Who wants to volunteer? It's your idea, you go ahead and try it then, Stefan said. It won't work. You will just reappear back here, Master said. Everyone turned to him. Finally can't help to join in, can you? Jack said to him playfully, which caused Master to turn away again. He is right, though, Jack heard Penul's voice in his head. See the rune diagram hidden behind those vines? The diagram is obscured, but I think it is the type that forces every outworlder who dies here to rebirth at this place. Jack continued chatting with the prisoners to pass the time. He also diverted his attention using 100 synchronous thoughts to practice mana manipulation and the sword's heart. These were the only things he could practice while being chained. He never stopped teasing Master once in a while. When Penul asked him why he did that, Jack answered because he knew that annoyed Master. There were only so many things to talk about. Silence descended after a while. After a long time of uncomfortable silence, Jack turned to Master and resumed his routine pestering. Hey, it seems like we will be here for a while. Are you truly just going to keep mum all the time? Master didn't even move. Every hour, like clockwork, Jack did that. It finally irked Master enough that he finally responded, Are you doing this deliberately? It's obvious, doesn't it? Jack grinned. I'm about to shorten it to every half an hour if you continue playing statue. I promise to leave you alone if you converse with me properly. What's the point of conversing with your enemy? What we should be doing is give it our best to eliminate one another. We can't do that now, can we? Jack pulled at his chains. Furthermore, I believe most of the conflicts of this world come from not enough conversation, or people conversing poorly. I bet if everyone can converse heart to heart, we will find a middle ground to live peacefully together. €50. That's what you think? You are even more of a dummy than I thought, Master said. I prefer it if you call me an idealist, Jack said. I received reports where a lot of times you go beat first and ask questions later, Master added. As I said, idealist, but sometimes things just weren't ideal, Jack replied. Master looked away. Ask your questions. Do not expect to be answered, though. Okay. Umayuro, aren't you supposed to know all there is about this world? Do you know that you will be trapped when you came here? Are you doing this on purpose? No, Master answered. When Jack continued staring at him, giving him the signal to elaborate, Master sighed and said, This faction behaves unexpectedly. Something has gone wrong within. I don't know what. And you didn't send scouts to check first? I did. None of them returns or sends reports. The last scout I sent is Spring Crown. He is also missing. Everyone failed and you decided you should come and see for yourself? Some genius you are, Jack ridiculed. Penuel, who was listening from her secret dimension, wished she could come out and give Jack a hard slap. This guy just recklessly barged into an unknown territory without sending any scouts and still dared to criticize others who did. If you want things to be done right, sometimes you have to do it yourself, Master said. Jack was reminded again when Master came alone to capture him the first time they met. Although Master mostly schemed behind his forces, Jack could see that this person was also a man of action. Okay, that question just now is only a warm-up. Let's go real now. Why do you do the things you do? Jack asked. When Master was silent, Jack pushed. Why do you want to become what you want to become? Master snickered. That is a foolish question. Isn't it everyone's desire to stand on top of others? He asked back. Not everyone's, Jack replied. Humph. I guess it's everyone's except for fools. Master mocked. Being on top meaning being alone. There is only one spot. It's a very lonely place. I prefer lonely than a world where everyone has to grovel at everybody. Jack again gave Master a face that asked him to elaborate. Master ignored Jack for a full minute before he finally said, Do you know the problem of our past world? We need others. Everyone has to try to win everyone else's affection to even have a chance of success. Even when one is fully competent, it doesn't matter. One needs to be popular. It doesn't matter if you have a brilliant mind. It doesn't matter if you have a great vision. All those are a waste if you cannot find supporters who are willing to back you up. You have to grovel at less intelligent people's feet just so they give you funds for your experiments. You don't know how humiliating that is. Even if you explain your ideas very well to them, if you can't make them like you, they won't spend a dime on you. That's the world we have been living in. All those celebrities, the social media. Everyone is obsessed about how many likes or how many views they get because that's the most important thing. Getting more people to like you. The more it is, the more successful you are. It's disgusting. This was the first time Jack heard Master say such a long sentence. He figured he must have hit a nerve there. That is indeed the way of the world, Jack said. I think it's natural. That's why we need to be good to each other. I don't see why it's a problem. Numbers have always been king. An individual won't beat a corporation. A corporation won't beat a government. Jack was repeating what Four Winds said to him in the past. Stefan, who had been listening by the side, joined the conversation. That is bullshit. My country, before I come into this game world, is controlled by a corporation. That is a fact. Then your government is weak, Master uttered. This fool is right, but he left out some details. A determined individual can win against a divided corporation, the same way a united corporation can win against a divided government. Your government is weak because it is divided. Try picturing that corporation in a dictatorial country. Do you think it can do what it does to your current government? Its asset will be forcefully seized, the organization disassembled, and its leaders executed. Do you think they can resist? To whom are they going to complain about such unfair treatment? Did you just say a dictatorship government is better? Are you for real? Jack asked with disbelief. I didn't say it is better. I said it is strong. A dictator sucks the blood of the people to fatten the elites in power, thus forming a united group that supports the dictator. None within this group will want to lose their power after tasting it, thus further cementing the dictator's position. Then they will be taken out by the people they enraged. Jack exclaimed. If the people are united, why do you think dictators rely so much on propaganda? To keep the people divided. As you said, number is king. The only thing that wins against a united government is a united people. But the larger an organization is, the harder it is to unite them. Uniting the people is the most difficult endeavor. But if that happens, nothing can stop it. Jack's mind inadvertently went to those zombie apocalypse movies he used to watch. In those movies, the zombies who only fought with claws and teeth were always portrayed to topple governments that had tanks and nuclear bombs. No one ever thought that was nonsense. He supposed those zombie swarms could be seen as what happened when the people were truly united. When everyone strived for a single purpose without a care for their own. No government, even with their powerful weapons, would be able to stop such a swarm. But of course, that was just a fairy tale. Everyone had fears and desires. They won't be able to act like those mindless zombies. Do you see now? Master asked. This is the reason I want to become a god. So I'm no longer bound by this stupid rule that prioritizes numbers. The others were staring at Master. This ethereal had always been silent. His unexpected outburst drew everyone's attention. A go to Euro? Naomi asked. Jack said to them. No need to listen to him, especially what he said about that dictator shit. He is a megalomaniac who tries to conquer the world and imagines himself as a god enslaving everyone. You can just treat his words as farts. Stefan rolled his eyes at Jack. Wasn't it you who baited him into this conversation? His eyes said. Master realized he had let his emotion get the better of him. He harumphed and leaned back onto the wall. He turned his face away from Jack. Hey, we just starting to know each other. Don't stop when the conversation starts to get interesting. Jack said to him. I've conversed enough. Are you going back on your words? Master said. Ugh, fine. I will not bother you a euro for a few hours, Jack said. 5 minutes later, Jack asked him, Hey, you are a genius, aren't you? Do you have any idea how we can get out of our current situation? Master was peeved. He wanted very much to cast his spells on this chattering fool. But he also couldn't access his spells. He was indeed thinking about a solution to his current predicament. But with this noisy man beside him, he was unable to think properly. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He had suffered through such fools his entire life. People who didn't know what they were talking about. Even when he tried explaining to them, they still didn't understand. That's why he had learned to not bother explaining anything to such people. Their limited intelligence rendered them unable to comprehend his train of thought. He was concentrating. He shut himself off from all outside noises. His thought was only on the problem at hand. His mind was focused. Solid as a fortress that repelled all the clatters from the outside world. Then this fortress was shaken. Master opened his eyes as his body shook. He looked down and saw the hand that was responsible for the shaking. That hand belonged to Jack. Hey, I'm asking you, do you have any idea? It will be better if we work together, Jack said while continued shaking Master's body. You a euro. You insufferable, obnoxious piece of a pestering buffoon. You vexing a euro. His rant was interrupted when a loud voice boomed from above. The last participant has arrived a euro. We finally have 4 full teams. Ladies and gentlemen, the game will begin shortly. Take your time to say your goodbye and maybe some prayers. Some of you might not make it. But hey, it's all worth it as long as we have fun. Isn't it? The game will begin in 10 minutes. The vine face had formed without anyone noticing. After delivering its announcement, the vines broke up and returned to its natural state. The dungeon returned to being silent. Last participant a euro? That participant must be in the other teams. By the way, does anyone know what this game is about? Jack asked. Everyone shook their heads. Jack turned to Master. Do you know? Oh, euro, you were saying something just now. What did you say? I didn't quite catch it, Jack asked. Master's face twitched. He didn't know if Jack truly didn't hear or if he was pretending. The result was the same. He was infuriated. He gave Jack the silent treatment again. Just 10 more minutes, he thought. Whatever this game was, he hoped he got separated from Jack. Or better yet, let him fight Jack. He would very much like that. Thinking of that possibility, his mind didn't even have the room to process an escape plan. Since Master ignored everyone, Jack took the initiative. He said to the others, "Well, whatever this game is," the Vine Face said, 4 teams. "We must be one of those 4. There is a high chance we will be pitted against the other 3 teams. I don't know what happens if we lose. But from what that Vine Face said just now, I don't think it's anything good. We will have a better chance of winning if we all work together. So we need to be of one voice. We need a leader. I propose Theta Euro. All of you should listen to me," Master interjected. Everyone was startled by his sudden declaration. Master was surprised himself. He didn't truly care who was the leader. He planned to study the situation and find a way out for himself. But he somehow just couldn't accept letting Jack be the leader. Anyone else except this buffoon was fine, even though the said leader was only figurative. "To Dia Euro, chill down," Jack said to him. "I was about to propose you as the leader." Master thought he must have heard wrong. "I hate to say this, but among us you have the most knowledge of this faction or any secret mechanism at work. I know you won't share any of them with us, but you should be able to direct us properly with that knowledge." Richard asked. "Why does he know more about this faction than any of us?" "Trust me, he just does," Jack said. Richard gave him a face that said, "What kind of explanation is that? Why should I trust you?" Jack ignored Richard and turned back to Master. "But of course, if you give us instruction that purposely harms any one of us, prepare for retaliation. Don't think you can take all of us on without your spells. Even I am confident I can deal with you in this condition." "Then why do you not? This is perhaps your only chance to defeat me," Master asked. "Your overconfidence will bring you down," Jack said. "Right back at you, moron," Master returned. "Never picture you to be so foul-mouthed," Jack remarked. Master thought the same. He didn't seem to be able to keep his cool with this guy. The others didn't truly understand the two's conversation, nor were they fully listening to the two. They were at the moment very anxious about this game that was about to start. On one hand, they were glad they no longer had to wait endlessly inside this dungeon. On the other hand, what if this game was worse than they thought? 10 minutes are almost over, Jack said. He had been keeping tabs on the time by counting in his mind. When the counter in his mind reached 0, a flash of light enveloped all 10 of them. They felt themselves become weightless. When the flash ended, they were gone from that dungeon. When the flash of light happened, they had to close their eyes due to the brightness. When they opened their eyes again, they found that they were outdoors on a stadium-sized racetrack. The first thing Jack did was look at himself. He was still wearing the ragged shirt and pants, except no more chains were binding him. He tried accessing his inventory and took things out. He could not. He also still couldn't use any of his skills or spells. Master did the same, except he tried casting his spells first, intending to cast an offensive spell on Jack. He was disheartened to find that he was unable to do so. Jack looked around. The place looked like an ordinary racetrack with spectator seats at one side. No one was in those seats. As for the other side, everything was void. Where are the other 3 teams? Jack wondered. There were only 10 of them here, the same people as when they were locked in the dungeon. Another flash of light and an elven woman of celestial beauty appeared before them. She was smiling and had a friendly expression. Yet Jack felt her eyes look somewhat hollow. "Hi, everyone. Thank you for participating in our games," the woman greeted. "I'm your host, Ugly. I will oversee this game and give you the instruction on each round." "Ugly? You are one of the divine priestesses of this faction," Jack exclaimed. "I've come to meet you. I'm here as a representative of hope. We need to speak. I've come to warn Euro." Ugly stared at Jack with her smiling face. She lifted her hand and pointed at Jack. Jack's lips suddenly glued together. He was unable to speak. Mahayuro. Jack tried exerting full force to open his mouth, but they were like being held by a clamp. Mahayuro, I've to learn that trick, Master thought to himself. I'm sorry, participant. You are not allowed to speak while I'm explaining, Ugly said. This is a soft warning. The next one to interrupt me will receive a more severe punishment. There will be a questions and answer session, so please stay quiet until then. Now back to my explanation. The game will consist of several matches before they culminate in an end match. This will be the first match, the track running match. The sounds of gongs and cheers were heard. Everyone looked around, wondering where those sounds and cheers came from. You will start from the starting line and run one round. When you get back to this line, you will complete this match, Ugly said. Simple, right? Now, are there any questions before we begin having fun? So, all we need to do is just run this track? Stefan asked. Aha! Ugly nodded. What's our prize for winning? Do we get our freedom? Naomi asked. No. This match is not about who wins the first place. It is about who has the last place, Ugly answered. What do you mean? Richard asked. The participant who has the last place will be nominated as a sacrifice. Essa euro sacrificia euro? What do you mean by that? Kramer asked. You will find out once this match ends, Ugly said. Any other question? Mama euro. Mha euro. Jack tried to open his mouth, but his lips were still locked. He had some questions of his own. Ugly acted like she didn't see Jack. She continued looking around for the others to ask their questions. Where are the other teams? Your colleague mentioned there are 4 teams, Master asked. This was one of the questions Jack wanted to ask. You will meet the other teams at the end match, considering that you survive until then, Ugly answered. Every match before the end match will serve to choose a sacrifice. When you get to the end match, the more participants you still have in your team, the better your chance is against the other teams. Wait, if every match chooses a sacrifice, won't the end match have a fixed reduction in the number of participants? Richard asked. Will we be freed if we win the end match? Naomi asked. Questioning session is over. Everyone, please take your positions, Ugly uttered without answering those questions. She moved to the side of the track where the starting line was. The others looked at each other in confusion. Ugly stared back at them with a beckoning motion. She was still smiling. Her expression never changed since she first appeared. Rather than a face, it was more like a mask. Master went and took a position before the starting line. Jack came beside him. Mama euro. He was still unable to speak. He pointed at his lips in protest while looking at Ugly. Ugly again acted like she didn't see him. The others came to the starting line one by one. Ready? Ugly asked when everyone was in position. Everyone took a pose. Some bent down and imitated the starting pose of professional athletes before they run. Some simply readied themselves in a standing position, like common people who were about to run. Jack jumped a few times and ran in place. All my skills are locked, but my attributes still work normally, Jack thought. In this case, he and Master, who had multi-classes, should have the fastest running speed. Get seat a euro, go a euro, Ugly shouted. At the same time that she said, go, the sound of a gunshot was heard. No one had the time to wonder where that sound came from. Everyone dashed off running. No one wanted to be the last. No one questioned what it meant for being a sacrifice. As expected, Jack and Master led the race by a huge margin. Despite Master having more classes than Jack, Jack was still faster. All his classes gave a huge boost to dexterity after all. Jack half expected this match to be something more than a simple track running. He kept expecting monsters or some obstacles to appear on the track as he ran. But no such thing happened. Jack was the first to arrive back where they started without any suspense. He lifted his hand in victory and then made a motion to Ugly, who was still standing there, by pointing at his mouth. He figured since he was the first, he had the right for a prize to be allowed to speak. Yet, Ugly continued to ignore him. Jack started to worry. Would he be denied speaking throughout this entire game? Master arrived second. If he was upset that he lost to Jack, he didn't show it. The others came one by one. Some that reached the finish line wore confused expressions. Were they locked all this time just for a simple running match? By now, the one who should arrive last was almost clear. It was amongst three people: Richard, Dina, or the native Glover. Both Richard and Dina had the magic class, so they had the least dexterity. Among the two, Dina seemed to be doing better. She was a bit ahead of Richard and Glover. Richard and Glover were running at neighboring lanes. They could practically touch each other while running side by side, both competing on not being the last. They kept on glancing at one another. Glover's face showed a panicky expression. He didn't want to be the sacrifice. His hands suddenly grabbed Richard. Richard and the others who watched were taken by surprise by Glover's action. The old orc didn't stop there. Glover's leg came to Richard's running legs. Richard lost his balance due to this and stumbled over. Glover let go of Richard when he was down and ran forward, leaving him behind. "What the euro, that's a fool a euro," Stefan shouted. He turned to Agli and demanded, "That orc should be disqualified." Agli, who was also watching the incident, turned to Stefan with her unchanging smile and asked, "Disqualified? Why?" He broke the relace euro," Stefan said. "What rules?" Agli asked back. "I never said you are not allowed to touch your competitors." Stefan was dumbstruck by Agli's words. Agli turned her attention back to the race as if nothing weird had happened. Dina arrived first among the last three racers. Glover was next. Richard arrived later after getting up and resumed running. When he arrived, he was understandably furious. "You cheating piece of shit a euro," he scolded while lunging at Glover. Glover expected the aggression. His two arms grabbed Richard's incoming arms. Since the two couldn't use skills, nor were they martial artists, they simply wrestled with strength. "Damn, you motherfucker!" Richard continued cursing while he tried to overpower Glover. Glover cursed back. "Screw you. You will just come back to life again. Do you think it is the same for me? I will die for Real Euro." The others just watched the tussling without interfering. They did think Glover had cheated, but they also empathized with Glover's fear of permanent death. Except for Richard's friend, Stefan, who went and helped Richard by hitting Glover using his fists. "Hey leader, aren't you going to do something?" Jack asked Master by doing gestures. Master just glanced at Jack but otherwise remained silent. It was unsure if he just didn't care or if he didn't understand Jack's weird gestures. Since Master didn't want to do anything, Jack was about to take action to separate the three. But a flash of light enveloped Richard and he was gone. Glover's hands that were grabbing Richard a moment ago froze in the air. Stefan, who was beside him, similarly stopped punching Glover. They were all surprised by the sudden disappearance of Richard. "You a euro, you kill him," Stefan yelled at Glover. Since they couldn't use equipment, Richard couldn't wear the amulet of rebirth. If he died, he would lose everything and return to level 1. Stefan resumed hitting Glover. Now that Glover's hands were free, he punched back. The two brawled like they were in a bar fight. "Richard is not Diodoro yet," Agli said, which stopped the two. "No? But you cite a euro, he is the sacrifice," Stefan said. "He is," Agli answered. "There is a sacrificial round after a match. This will decide whether the sacrifice will die or if they can be saved to join the next match. We will now proceed to the sacrificial round." Once she finished speaking, the world around them changed. Everything appeared to be reshuffled into something else. Before they knew it, the chaos around them stopped and they found themselves indoors again, but not in the dungeon where they used to be chained. It was still a dungeon. It was an underground room filled with contraptions. At the center of that room, hanging from the ceiling, was Richard. His hands were bound by a chain that was attached to some kind of a mechanism on the ceiling. His two legs were also bound together. He had a frightened face. "Everyone, help me," he shouted when he saw the others. He wanted to say more, but his mouth was suddenly clamped shut. He was unable to speak, the same as Jack. "Sorry, I want to say something, so everybody please refrain from speaking." Agli had also appeared in this room. She floated to Richard's side and announced, Welcome to the sacrificial round, where we have the second most fun part of this game. The most fun part is, of course, the end match, but I assure you all that you will enjoy this round no less. Now, let me explain the rules. She pointed to Richard and said, "This is the sacrifice. You have 10 minutes to free him from his binding. He will be slowly lowered during these 10 minutes. After that, he will enter the pond below. Any questions?" Everyone turned their attention to the large hole below Richard. They came closer and saw the inside of the hole was filled with lava. If Richard dropped into the so-called pond, he was a goner. "How do we save Richard?" Stefan asked. "That is for you to figure out," Ugly answered. "It's more fun this way, isn't it?" "This is fun? This is torture porn shit," Stefan exclaimed. "If he dies, where will he revive?" Master asked. He didn't see any rune diagram in this room. He didn't care if Richard died, but if dying brought them out of this place, that could be an option for escape. He had the immortal soul, so he didn't need the amulet of rebirth. The question was whether that skill could bypass the restriction of this dimension. "In our nursery hall, of course, where we will nurse him back to a suitable level so he can join the fun again," Ugly answered. The players were dejected hearing that. This means even in death, there was no escape. "What if it is a native who is sacrificed?" Carrie, the ethereal native, asked. "Will we get revived as well?" "No," Ugly answered flatly. She then announced, "Okay, let the fun begin." The moment she made the announcement, the mechanism above the ceiling made a creaking sound and the chain that was binding Richard started to lower. "There is too little information. At least give us some clues," Stefan yelled. Yet, there was no one in the direction he was yelling at. He looked around. Ugly had already gone from this place. They were left to deal with this round alone. "Damn it," Stefan cursed. He then said to Naomi, "Hold my hand." Naomi complied. Stefan leaned forward by the edge of the hole. His arms stretched forward to grab Richard. Naomi held his other arms and kept him from falling into the lava pool. The hole in the floor was large, but if Stefan could lean forward enough, then he should be able to grab Richard. He could then pull Richard to safety instead of letting Richard fall into the pool as the chain lowered him. Jack, who saw what Stefan was trying to do, tried jumping. If he could do his super jump, he should be able to grab Richard. He couldn't. His jump was a simple regular human jump. This place had also locked away their passive abilities. So Jack came forward and helped in another way. He helped Naomi hold Stefan, allowing Stefan to lean at a lower angle and thus covered further distance. "Yes, I should be able to reach him once he is lowered enough," Stefan said. Richard's position was still high at the moment. Because Stefan was leaning low, he needed to wait until the chain lowered Richard enough for him to grab Richard's feet. "Don't let go," Stefan told Naomi and Jack. "Don't worry. We got you," Naomi replied. Jack could only nod since he couldn't speak. While waiting, Stefan looked at the lava below. He could feel the heat. Since he was hanging on top of the lava, he felt as if he was being roasted. But he endured. This discomfort would not stop him from saving his friend. While his eyes were on the lava, he saw movements. He thought he imagined it at first. Then, something that looked like the back of a snake swam across the surface of the lava. "What the euro?" Stefan muttered. A round thing emerged. Stefan at first had no idea what that was. It then wiggled around. Stefan knew then that whatever it was alive. Then, the center part of that round thing opened up. Inside the opening, Stefan saw that it was filled with numerous sharp teeth. The thing then disappeared into the lava again. When Stefan was still trying to make sense of what he had just seen, the lava burst, and those sharp teeth he had seen a moment before were now right in front of his eyes. He then felt extreme pain in his face. "Pull me up! Pull me up!" Stefan screamed frantically. He now also felt pain from his other body parts. The others, who were watching, saw numerous snake-like creatures jump out of the lava pond and bit Stefan. Jack failed to detect the existence of those creatures inside the lava because the lava itself was full of mana. The mana from the lava pond obscured the creatures inside. Hence, Jack was only aware of these snakes at the same time as the others when they jumped out from the lava. Damage numbers came up above Stefan as he was bitten. Jack and Naomi hurriedly pulled him away from the pond. Some of the snakes fell back into the lava as Stefan was being pulled away. Some remained on his body, biting ferociously, not letting go. "Aha, Euro! Get them off! Get them off a Euro!" Stefan screamed. Jack accumulated mana onto his arms and slashed them as if they were swords. The impact damaged the snakes and forced them to let go of Stefan. The snakes fell onto the ground and slithered their way back to the lava pond. Some of the parts bitten by the snakes were burning. Damage numbers were still appearing above Stefan's head. His health point bar had lowered to half. "Put them off! Put them off a Euro!" Stefan yelled in panic. "Those were lava worms," Jack heard Penul's voice. "Their bites have a chance to cause burn effect, but the effect doesn't last long." Jack couldn't speak, so he couldn't convey the message. He could only make gestures to Stefan to calm him down. "Quit your yelping," Master scolded. "Those were just lava worms. Their burn effect didn't last long. You won't die." Jack glared at Master. He wanted to say, "Come on, dude. The guy is in pain." The others were crowding at the hole's edge. Now that they knew there were lava worms inside, they could better see the creatures. These lava worms swam to the surface once in a while. They saw a lot of them. The whole pond was filled with them. "Good Lord Euro, you would think the lava is enough. Do they have to add those things? This is simply overkill," Winston remarked. The flames around Stefan's bite wounds soon died down. Stefan was able to calm down once that happened. "What should we do now?" Naomi asked. Jack was still unable to say anything. He slumped his shoulders. "You know martial arts?" Dina asked Jack. Jack answered with a nod. "I came with someone who was also a martial artist. Unfortunately, we got separated once we entered the mist. I never see him again. I wonder if he was also trapped here." Jack made some hand signals to tell her that he also came here with a companion and got separated. He wanted to tell her not to worry. Their friends must be on the other teams. They could see their friends again once they got to the end match. Jack didn't use proper sign language because he didn't know any. He simply flailed his arms around and hoped to God that the other side understood. This, of course, just confused the hell out of Dina. "Can you maybe use your martial arts to deal with those worms while Stefan tries to grab Richard again?" Naomi asked Jack. "I am not hanging over that lava again," Stefan shouted. He wanted to save Richard, but he had been traumatized by what just happened. Nobody blamed him. When everyone was looking around for a volunteer, Glover came forward. "I will do eat a Euro," Glover said. When he saw how the others looked at him, he explained, "He is in this situation because of me. I was afraid, but I never meant him any harm. If it is possible to save him, I would like to do so." "All right, let's do this," Naomi exclaimed. "Just a Euro, don't drop me," Glover said to Naomi. "Don't worry. I have confidence in my strength. I won't release my hold," Naomi assured him. Glover turned to Jack. "You truly are good?" he asked. Jack nodded. "Don't let any of those things bite me." Jack nodded again. While they were getting into position, they heard several clanking sounds. They turned back and saw Master was rummaging at the corner. "What are you doing?" Naomi asked. The place was full of unknown contraptions, with devices that seemed a bit too modern for their current world. They heard a tug. They turned and saw that Master was yanking at something. A loud popping sound, and in Master's hand was a pipe. He did that a few times until he had 6 pipes with irregular lengths. He threw the pipes onto the ground. "Here," he said. "Use those pipes to fend off those worms. That fool won't be able to do it alone. Can you please stop with the fool word?" Jack wanted to say. He picked up 2 pipes. Dina, Kramer, Carrie, and Winston picked up the rest. They then took position around the hole. Jack stood closest to where Glover was. "Ready?" Naomi asked. He was holding to Glover, who stood by the hole's edge. Stefan had come to her side. He was still scared, but he should be able to help if it was just helping Naomi hold on to Glover. "Wait!" they heard Master say. That sacrifice is still out of reach. It is pointless to try grabbing him now. You will just waste your energy fending off the lava worms. Wait until he is lower. They thought it made sense, so they wait. While waiting, Stefan said to Master, "Why don't you go pick up another pipe and come help? It's better than just standing there doing nothing." "I'm not doing nothing," Master said. He was surveying the room. "Just do what you are told. I will give you the next instruction when it's time." "The hell, Manayuro?" Stefan didn't like the way Master talked. "Well, he is the leader," Naomi said. "I never agree to that. It's this guy who said he is the leader." Stefan pointed at Jack. Jack just shrugged. He had expected Master's attitude would be a problem. "Hey, you think he is lower enough?" Kramer asked. More than 5 minutes had passed. Richard had been lowered halfway. "I can probably grab him now," Glover said. "Okay. Get ready, everyone," Naomi called. Everybody nodded. Glover took a deep breath before leaning forward. Once he was lowered enough, the lava pond became restless. Some lava worms burst out and flew at Glover, who was hanging above their territory. Glover instinctively closed his eyes when these lava worms came at him. Several flashes of light crisscrossed the space below Glover. The lava worms that were about to touch Glover were smacked back into the pond, accompanied by damage numbers. Those flashes were Jack using the pipes to perform the burst attack of his sword art. The damage number he produced was small, though. The pipes weren't a proper weapon. They didn't have a weapons damage stat. Hence, after falling back into the lava pond, the lava worms swam back to the surface and jumped out again for another try. As time passed, more and more lava worms burst out of the lava. There were too many of them that Jack had trouble trying to stop them all. Luckily, he was not alone. The 4 with the pipes joined in by swinging their pipes at the lava worms. As the intensity of the lava worms' attacks increased, a few managed to pass through the net of attacks and bit Glover. He yelled from the pain, but these worms were immediately slashed by Jack. It's a good thing natives had a high health point pool. Glover was also a special elite grade and was level 61, so his health point was rather high. He didn't worry about his life from those few bites. Even so, these bites caused him trouble concentrating. His hand tried to reach Richard, who was now in range, but he kept on missing. His fingers nudged Richard's hanging leg but were unable to get a firm grab. Richard also tried to move his legs toward Glover, but he was in a panic, so he wasn't of big help. It just increased the difficulty for Glover to grab him due to his constant movements. "Richard, stop flailing your legs," Stefan yelled. Richard calmed down a bit after the yell. "Rargayuro," Glover roared as he focused his mind to ignore the pain from the lava worm's bites. He forced his hand to become steady and finally managed to clamp the fabric of Richard's pants using his 2 fingers. He then slowly pulled Richard toward him by exerting his entire strength on his 2 fingers. Richard also pushed his legs in the direction of Glover's pull. When Richard's legs were pulled far enough, Glover let go of this finger clamp and quickly grabbed Richard's leg with a full hand. "Got him!" Glover shouted triumphantly. "Now pull," Naomi instructed. She and Stefan pulled Glover's body, which in turn pulled Richard. Jack and the others doubled their effort repelling the lava worms, so nothing ruined this moment when they almost succeeded. Richard's body was pulled to a diagonal angle. He was now tethering between Glover's pull and the chain from above. As the chain lowered, Richard's body could be pulled further to safety. "Yeah!" Kramer shouted triumphantly. Fewer and fewer lava worms jumped out of the pond because Glover was now almost back to the side of the hole. Suddenly, the chain that was binding Richard's arms snapped. This was so unexpected that everyone failed to react. Glover was only holding Richard's leg with one hand. When the chain snapped, Richard was suddenly falling and Glover was unable to hold Richard's full weight. His grab slipped, and Richard fell straight into the lava pond. Everyone heard Richard as he fell in screaming with a closed mouth. They could still see him for a second on the lava surface before the lava worms swarmed out and covered his body. They then dragged his body down into the lava. Everyone watched the pond in disbelief, unsure of what to do. While everyone had been shocked into silence, they heard Master's words. As expected, this game is rigged. Everyone's eyes were still glued to the lava pond which was still surging around. They had no problem imagining the lava worms having a feast below the surface. It took the others a few whiles before they could respond to Master's words. Re-Euro Regatta Euro? What do you mean by Regatta Euro? Naomi asked. This round only has one answer. We have to solve the puzzle in this room in a predetermined method, Master answered. Anyone trying to free the captive in a way outside this method, the captive will get sacrificed early. The 10 minutes deadline wasn't completed yet when the chain broke. What predetermined method? There is no one telling us any method at all, Stefan exclaimed. Are you a baby? Do you have to be spoon-fed everything? Open your eyes and find the clues yourself, Master rebuked. He then pointed at one of the contraptions on one side of the room. That lever there. Turning it should start something. It should trigger a chain reaction to that point, then that, and that. Master continued pointing at multiple spots. We need to do something to the gadgets there, probably even hitting them. If we complete the sequence properly, we can then save the sacrifice. What's the point? We have already failed, Naomi said gloomily. MMA Euro, MMA Euro, MMA Euro. Jack wanted to say something but can't. Wait. You already know this while we try to save Richard, but you didn't tell us? Stefan asked. Jack pointed at Stefan with approving eyes. That was what he wanted to say. We need to find out how this place works. That sacrifice serves a perfect function to test my hypothesis, Master answered. MMA Euro, Mama Euro, Mha Euro, Jack mumbled. He was very dejected to be unable to speak. It took a while before Master's words dawned on Stefan. His face turned dark and he lunged at Master. You, piece of shit. You used my friend just to prove your guess a euro? Jack again looked at Stefan with appreciation. Stefan's words were less flowery, but those were more or less what he wanted to say. Master wasn't surprised by Stefan's advance. He had even expected it. His one hand shot out and grabbed Stefan's throat. Stefan wasn't even aware until Master's hand was already on his neck. With the stats from his 5 classes, his speed couldn't be compared to Stefan's, and so was his strength. Master was currently applying pressure to his choke. Stefan tried to break free, but Master's hand was like steel. He couldn't pry open even a single finger. Another hand came and grabbed Master's wrist. The pressure from this hand slowly forced Master to release his clutch. Stefan hurriedly moved away once he was freed, coughing while he did. Once he was at a safe distance, he had a good look at the one who came to his rescue. It was Jack. Humph! What are you going to do, Mute King? Master asked with a mocking tone. Jack responded by sending an abrupt punch into Master's chest. Master flew back and hit the wall. HMA Euro? Something puzzled Jack. Master didn't fall despite being hit by such a strong punch. He rebounded off the wall and landed on 2 feet. If he felt any pain, he didn't show it. A Glee's voice interrupted them. Congratulations! The sacrifice dies. Isn't that fun? Sheme Euro? What is this? Are you people having a conflict among your own? You shouldn't be too hasty. You should save it for later, you know? She just materialized beside the hole out of nowhere. Those who still stayed near the hole were startled till they fell. Luckily, they didn't fall in the direction of the hole. Today's match has ended. We will continue tomorrow, a Glee informed. The room shuffled again. Before they knew it, they were back at the dungeon before the match with chains bounding them. Rest. We will have fun again tomorrow. The vine face told them from above. Now that they had heard a Glee's voice, they noticed this vine face's voice was a Glee's but slightly distorted. MMH. Mha Euro. Jack tried to call. This time, the vine face or a Glee didn't ignore him. Do you promise to not interrupt me again? A Glee asked. Jack nodded profusely. Good boy, a Glee said. Jack felt his lips part. He uttered something. Yes, he exclaimed. It was truly torturing for him not to speak. A Glee vanished. The vines returned to their dormant state. The captives were now alone again in the same dungeon as before, but with one fewer person. Stefan was staring at Master with enmity. Master snickered at the display. He taunted, "You, lowly people, can only blame others. If everything is left to you, everyone will die in every sacrificial round. It is because of the first sacrifice that we can now have better success chance in the next round." "Are you trying to explain yourself?" Jack asked. In his heart, he felt so good to be able to talk again. "Why do I need to explain?" Master scoffed. "This is what a leader does. I make the hard decision to sacrifice one person for the sake of more. The same way a ruler sends scouts during wartime, even with the knowledge that some of these scouts will be most likely killed. It is worth it as long as a few returns with valuable information." "Speak for yourself," Jack spat. "A leader who doesn't care about his followers won't get far. All you care about is just yourself. For the sake of more, my ass. You just care for yourself and your ego. Everyone who follows you is just doing it out of fear. You will quickly find that you are alone when you lose your strength. Haha. So, do you think being compassionate makes you a better leader? You are weak. That's what you are," Master returned. "I'm grateful you are a merciful leader because then I will have an easier time crushing you and your pathetic country. Come here then. Do you want me to punch you again?" Jack pulled at his chain. Master was no longer sitting beside Jack. Master had changed places with Kramer, so Stefan and Kramer were now by Jack's side. Aglee probably did so because Jack and Master fought when she returned to the sacrificial round. "Humph. I have no time to waste on you," Master said and turned away. He no longer spared Jack a look. "Just so you know, if you become the sacrifice, I will happily let you die," Jack said. "The feeling is mutual," Master replied without turning back. The others were both confused and fascinated by the two. It seemed the two had quite a history between them. They didn't understand most of the things the two talked about. They just knew the two had very different ideologies. Seeing that Jack treated Master as a sworn enemy, Stefan felt a kinship with Jack. He said, "Brother, if you need my help dealing with him, I'm ready. See? I've already got a friend and you instead get an enemy," Jack said to Master. "Humph. Like I give a damn about a weakling. I don't give a shit even if 1,000 such weaklings become my enemies," Master said. Stefan's face was red from such an insult. "Don't worry. I will kick his butt for you one day," Jack said to Stefan. Then he added, "By the way, since we are now brothers, do you mind helping me with something?" "Anything, brother," Stefan said. Jack nodded. "It will hurt, though," he warned. "I'm not afraid of trouble if it is for a friend," Stefan announced. "Tell me what you need. If it is within my power, I will gladly do it." "What do you need me to do?" "Oh, I don't need you to do anything much. Just lean closer," Jack said. "Closer euro? What for?" Stefan was confused, but he complied. He came closer to Jack. He thought perhaps Jack wanted to whisper some secrets to him. Since they couldn't use messages, they needed this old-fashioned way of sharing secrets. While he was expecting Jack to lean his head closer to his, it was Jack's hand that came. Jack's hand slapped Stefan's cheek hard. "Ouch, a euro! What the fuck was that for a euro?" Stefan screamed. "I'm sorry. I just want to test something," Jack said. "What the hell are you testing by hitting me?" Stefan asked. "You don't have a damage number appearing," Jack answered. "Of course I don't." "You don't have a weapon equipped," Stefan said. "No, you don't understand. Some of us martial artists have an ability called mana manipulation. With this ability, we can cause damage even if we don't use any weapon. I used this ability just now, but it didn't cause you any damage." "So what does that mean, my king?" Kramer asked from Jack's other side. "You are still on with that my king shit? Didn't I tell you no way he is your king?" Stefan said to Kramer. Kramer paid him no mind. "This means the rules of this constructed world prevent members of the same team from hurting one another," Jack answered. "I bet even if we have weapons equipped, we still won't be able to hurt each other." Which was a pity, Jack thought. Earlier, when he sent Master flying to the wall, he was ready to continue his assault. Master had proven to be someone he couldn't tolerate. He wanted to take Master out now that Master was vulnerable, but it seemed that option was out of the window. He couldn't kill Master even if he wanted to, since he couldn't cause any damage to a team member. "Let's rest. We might need our strength for tomorrow," Jack said. Some rested as Jack suggested. Some continued talking with one another, discussing the event of today. Jack, who was normally chatty, didn't join them. He closed his eyes. He was glad now that Master had changed position. He felt safer with Stefan and Kramer by his sides. Otherwise, he might not dare to risk what he was about to do. He acted like he was asleep while sitting on the wall, but he was focusing on his mana sense. Gradually, his consciousness left his body. Good, he thought. This ability was still working, the same as his mana sense and mana manipulation. However, when he expanded his sense, he found that the space here was just this dungeon they were in. This constructed space was just a small pocket world. Even if they weren't chained, they were still trapped. There was no exit. He didn't let himself get disheartened by this finding, though. He floated to where the edge of this constructed world was. The last time, he was able to interact with the mana of a constructed world and sense its structure. Perhaps he could do the same here. His consciousness touched the wall of this pocket world. He sensed nothing at first, but he forced himself to delve deeper into its fabric. He felt the membrane that enveloped this world shiver. Sensing the reaction, Jack pushed harder. He forced his consciousness to pierce through the membrane. His control over mana sense and mana manipulation could be classified as top tier already. If anyone could break through this dimensional layer, he would be one such person. With his persistence, he sensed the membrane give in. His consciousness started to seep into it. As that happened, his sense expanded. His sense was abruptly flooded with so much stimulation that he felt as if he had lost himself in a sea of turbulent waters. He didn't know for how long, but he slowly regained control. As his awareness returned, he could make sense of all the information that floated around him. He could see now that there were a lot of these constructed worlds, a whole network of them. Each pocket housed different things. He couldn't sense what was inside them. He would have to pierce through their layers, as he did when he penetrated out of the one his body was in. He was suddenly alarmed. What if he couldn't find his way back? He tried sensing around. He was relieved when his consciousness easily identified the pocket world where his body was located. After making sure that he had an escape route, he returned to studying this mess of worlds. Was Grace in one of those worlds? But there were too many of them to check one by one. He wished Penuel was here to guide him. But considering Penuel was also in a different dimension, Jack wondered if he could contact her like usual. Jack tried calling her. No response. He then focused his mind. He felt the connection. "Where are you?" He heard Penuel's voice. Jack was happy that they could still be in contact despite his incorporeal state. Perhaps because his mana sense had become stronger. Jack told her where he had gone and tried describing what he saw. When Penuel didn't quite get it, Jack tried concentrating and sent her his vision. She could see what Jack saw then. After seeing Jack's vision, Penuel warned him. This constructed dimension was very complex. Anyone responsible for its creation had a god-level power. She told Jack to not be reckless. With Penuel's guidance, Jack spent a few hours studying the dimension. He found that all of the pocket worlds were linked to one large pocket world. Jack figured that must be the Nexus world, the one that held all the other worlds together. Jack decided to check this Nexus world. If there was a way to escape this place, the clue must be there. Penuel reminded him that the one responsible for creating this dimension was most likely in that Nexus world. Jack answered he had no choice. He had to take the risk if he wanted to understand more about this place. Jack approached the Nexus world and did the same thing when he forced himself out of the dimension he was locked in. It took him more time and effort. The wall protecting this Nexus world was stronger, but it was still no match for his determination. When he got through, he found himself in a similar dungeon where he came from. Huh? Is this truly the Nexus world? He thought. He then sensed a presence. He turned in that direction and saw a woman with an appearance that was similar to Agli. The difference was while Agli wore an elegant dress, this one wore a ragged one. She was also in chains. Is she a prisoner as well? Jack thought. While he was thinking, he noticed this woman was looking in his direction. "Who are you?" the woman asked. The first thing Jack did was direct his senses to his back. Probably the woman was talking to someone behind him who just happened to enter this room. But after sweeping his consciousness throughout the room, there was only this woman. Jack returned his attention to this woman, who was still staring at where he was floating. Her next words convinced Jack that she was indeed aware of Jack's presence. "You area Euro and Outworlder Euro, how do you get into this spirit form?" Jack wanted to reply, but he couldn't. He wasn't able to speak during his incorporeal state. The woman seemed to understand Jack's dilemma. She said, "You can focus on the message you want to convey in your mind. I will be able to hear your thoughts." Jack did what the woman told him. He didn't sense any malice in her. Plus, she was also a captive. Jack focused hard using his mind and directed a thought at her. "Hi. Hello. Can you hear me?" The woman winced. "Not too loud, please," she said. "You have a strong mind." "Oh, I'm sorry." Jack tried to tone down his focus. "I'm an outworlder called Storm Wind." "Who are you?" "It's nice meeting you, Mr. Storm. My name is Talia," the woman replied. "Talia? One of the divine priestesses of the Council of Charites." "You know of me?" Talia asked. "I come here looking for you and your sisters." "Well, Euro, I did meet one of your sisters, but she wasn't exactly friendly." "You meet Euphasinia Euro?" Talia seemed surprised. "No. The other one, Agli," Jack answered. "Algia Euro?" Now she looked confused. "Tell me everything. Why are you here? How did you meet Agli and what did she do?" Jack wanted to ask her what exactly was happening here. Why one of the divine priestesses captured people and forced them to participate in a deadly game. And why was the other divine priestess chained? But since it was Talia who asked first, he had to be a gentleman and comply. So, Jack narrated how he ended up in this place and what had transpired ever since he arrived here. Talia listened silently. "Euro," she said, "we will continue the next match tomorrow. We have been given the rest of the day to rest. I use my secret ability to send my consciousness out to explore this place. This is how I find you. Now, if you don't mind, I want to ask a few questions myself." Talia had been frowning while listening to Jack. She realized Jack's confusion after his question. "Of course. Forgive me. I apologize for the discomfort my sister has caused you. Although I can't truly help your predicament, I can provide you with an explanation of what is happening. You see, Euro," she suddenly stopped. "Yes, Euro?" When Jack wanted to urge her for an answer, he saw her face suddenly turn tense. "You need to leave. Now!" Talia exclaimed. "What? Why?" Jack asked. "She is on her way here," Talia answered. "She? Who? Agli?" Jack asked. "No, worse. You have to leave." Jack tried expanding his senses. This Nexus world was large. The dungeon he was in was just one of the rooms in this Nexus world. "Stop. Like me, she can sense you. If she finds you, she will do something to prevent you from using your spirit form again. You have to leave now. Come find me again right after your match tomorrow. She should be occupied for a few hours after the match. I will explain everything then. Don't come before then. We can't risk you stumbling into here while she was present. Now go!" Jack felt the alarm in Talia's voice. He decided to heed her warning. He went to the wall of the dungeon and worked his way through the membrane encasing this pocket world. When he pierced through, for a very short moment he sensed the presence of someone entering the room. This presence sent chills through his very being even when it was just for a brief instant. He was out then. He turned back and watched the Nexus world from the space in between worlds within this constructed dimension. He wondered whether that presence he sensed just now also sensed him back during that last second. He decided to not think about it too much and make his way back. He was curious about the other pocket worlds. There was also the matter of Grace's whereabouts, but he had been out of his body for too long. He would be in trouble if anything happened to his body while he was gone. Additionally, after spending a certain time in this incorporeal state, he could feel himself becoming weaker. He didn't think it was wise to stay in this state for too long. As for Grace, he believed in her. She was a woman who could take care of herself, not a dame who needed rescuing, as had been proven during the war with Liguridium and Orbor when she came to his rescue instead of him to her. As long as he could make it to the end match, Jack believed he would see Grace there. So, he made his way back to where his body was. In a dungeon similar to where Jack and Master were chained, Grace was sitting by a corner. She was also chained, the same as yesterday when she came into this place after entering the mist. She and the others in this room had just gone through a running match and a sacrificial round. 10 of them entered the match. Now, there were still 10 of them. They had successfully saved the person nominated as the sacrifice, all thanks to 2 people. Grace and another person she knew well, even if he was an enemy. That person was Spring Crown. The sacrificial round they went through was the same as the one Jack's team experienced. With their keen perception, Spring Crown and Grace identified the important parts of the mechanism around the sacrificial room even faster than Master. Then, with Spring Crown's puzzle gaming expertise, they figured out what to do with the mechanism. The whole of the lava pond closed once they completed the puzzle and the chain holding the sacrifice was released. "We made quite a team, didn't we?" Spring Crown said to Grace with his typical smile. The 2 of them were chained side by side. Grace was unsure how to answer. "Don't worry, I ain't hitting on you. I know who your boyfriend is. I'm not suicidal," Spring Crown said. A euro, but someone clearly doesn't get the picture. On Grace's other side, another man sat there. He was also chained like the rest of the people in this room. He was an elf with quite a fair face. He went by the name of Evan and claimed to be a high-level priest. He was here before Grace. Since Grace arrived, he had been pestering her non-stop. "You have a boyfriend?" Evan asked Grace after hearing Spring Crown's words. "That is not strange. Someone as beautiful as a goddess like you surely has many suitors. But don't worry, I'm not someone who is easily deterred. Once a girl owns my heart, I will not stop even if powerful storms or violent winds are hindering my way." "Excellent choice of words," Spring Crown chuckled. Grace was not that amused. She had been fed up with this guy. This Evan just didn't know how to take a hint. She had told him politely that she wasn't interested. She had ignored him. She had even shoved him away when he put his hand on her shoulder without permission earlier today when they were not chained. For someone who claimed to be high-level, Evan flew quite a distance from the shove. Yet he came back as if nothing had happened. If there was something admirable about the guy, it was his persistence. The other girls in the group were also not amused. They were both jealous and relieved. Jealous because of Grace's goddess-like appearance and how she got all the attention. Relieved because they had been the target of Evan's flirting before Grace showed up. They were also very irritated by Evan's constant flirting. Hence the conflicted feeling they now had for Grace. They didn't know whether they should thank her or curse her. Evan continued to throw one flowery word after another. If yesterday was any indication, Grace knew that Evan would continue to pester her for her entire waking hours. So, she said to everyone, "Agli said that the game will continue tomorrow. We should get some sleep so that we can be fully ready for tomorrow." She then closed her eyes to pretend to sleep. Irritatingly, Evan continued chattering. "You can rest assured, my dear. I won't let anything happen to you. No matter what peril we face tomorrow, I'll be there for you. These 5 words I swear to you." Grace felt very much like slapping the guy, but she restrained herself. Spring Crown had a different reaction. He sat upright and gave Evan a look of disbelief. "You did not just quote Bon Jovi's song lyrics, did you?" "What lyrics?" "You are imagining things," Evan denied. He said to Grace, who was still pretending to sleep, or at least trying to. "Don't listen to him, my dear. These words are all genuine from my heart." "I'm not your Diera Euro." Grace wanted to scream, but she continued with her feigned sleep, hoping Evan would give up soon. Yet, Evan continued to chatter away. "A euro, you go ahead and take your rest, my dear. Let my voice be the soothing melody that delivers you to the dream world. Perhaps we will see one another again in your sweet dream. Then I can properly show you a proper expression of my undying love without these others here encumbering you as a euro." The others had their hairs stood on end hearing Evan's words. Some wanted very much to beat the crap out of him. One such person was another elven male named Tom. Unfortunately, he sat opposite Evan. He tried breaking his chains so he could lay his hands on Evan. His effort was, of course, unsuccessful. Evan ignored everyone's disgusted stare and continued speaking. We might just meet yesterday, but I feel like I have known you for life. The first time I lay my eyes on you, I know this is it. This is the woman for me. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I know you think this is too soon and are still figuring out how you feel. Take your time, my dear. There is no rush. Know that I'm right here waiting for you. I wish I could cut my heart open to let you see how I feel. For I can feel I'm breaking free. For just this moment lost in time, I am finally me. This real me that I Dare you do it again Spring Crown yelled. Evan turned to Spring Crown, annoyed that his heart-to-heart expression was interrupted. You are quoting another song, Spring Crown exclaimed. You think you can hide it because it was from a game soundtrack? I know all the game soundtracks. You just quote a lyric from The Edge of Dawn. You miserable fraud. Instead of speaking to Spring Crown, Evan again turned back to Grace, who still had her eyes closed, and said, As I said, there is no need to listen to the others. They are just jealous. Jealous of our love, that we can find each other even in such a horrible place. Don't you see it? This is fate. Fate brought us together. Grace suddenly rose. Her arms were lifted in a pose that was ready to give Evan a backhand slap. She stopped. She realized she had let emotion get to her. She had dealt with this kind of harassment a lot in the real world. Even though she knew that, unlike the real world, she now had the power to deliver some pain to this type of person. She also knew that this kind of sick bastard would just revel in the pain she delivered, as if that was some kind of a sick expression of love. Hence, she stayed her hand. She then gave Evan the sweetest smile and said, If you care about me, do you mind going ahead and sleeping as well? I'm sure we will need to be at our best tomorrow. We will have to make sure we survive the game tomorrow. Evan was wide-eyed after listening to Grace. He said passionately, Of course, my dear. Everything for you, my dear. I will sleep at once. He lay down and closed his eyes. Grace lay back down and turned the other way. Spring Crown came close and whispered, Hey, if that guy somehow becomes the sacrifice, let's agree to not save him. How about that? Grace didn't reply, but she nodded softly with her closed eyes. On the second day of the match, Jack and the others were teleported into another pocket world within the constructed dimension. It was again a sports field. Near where they stood were 9 metal balls. Each of these balls was attached by a steel wire to a grip. Seeing those balls, Jack said, Hammer throw a After blurting, he quickly closed his mouth with his 2 hands. Agli was once more here with them to oversee the match. Jack was afraid Agli would be offended again if he spoke out of turn. Luckily, Agli didn't seem to mind. I see you are familiar with this sport. I don't need to explain then, do I? She asked. Jack nodded. He then asked, Who should go first? Anyone is fine. Just don't spend too long deciding, Agli said. Even with her wide smile and friendly tone, Jack still somehow felt that her sentence was a threat. I don't understand. What should we do with these balls? Kramer asked. Dude, you seriously don't know? Oh wait you are a native. I guess it makes sense if you don't know, Jack said. This is one of the sports from our world. Hey, Stefan, you go first. Show him how to do it. Stefan turned to Jack with a look that asked, Why me? But since he had to do it sooner or later, he decided to just go along. He walked to the metal balls. While Stefan approached the metal ball, Naomi asked, I am wondering, why did they use Olympic Games competitions to choose a sacrifice? Do you prefer they have us play children's games instead? Jack asked. Stefan was looking between the 9 metal balls. They all looked the same. He bent down to pick one of them up. His eyes turned wide when he tried lifting it. Holy! He exclaimed. He then dropped the one he tried to lift and went to lift the next one. Shit! Why is it so heavy? I'm sure the balls from the Olympic Games aren't this heavy, he uttered. Really? Jack was about to go and check, but Agli stopped him. One person at a time, Ugly said. He then said to Stefan, you have 1 minute to throw the ball. If you haven't thrown a ball by then, you will be immediately chosen as the sacrifice. Stefan was taken aback by Ugly's statement. He glared at Jack. Ha! Jack didn't understand what the glare was for. Stefan went and tried the third ball. It was also heavy. Are all of them this heavy? Stefan asked Ugly. Naturally, Ugly answered. Providing different weights will just benefit the first participant, won't it? Since all of them were the same, Stefan just tried his best to lift the current one. He had to use 2 hands to lift the ball and brought it to the throwing zone, which was marked with a large circle on the ground. What is the weight of that ball? Jack asked Ugly. 100 kilograms, Ugly answered. Naomi and several players gasped. Anyone knows what is the normal weight for a hammer throws ball? Jack asked. Nobody said anything. When Jack thought no one knew the answer, Master said, it is 16 pounds, around 7 kilograms. Wow! So, the ones we use here are more than 10 times the normal ones. Jack asked. Do you want to issue a formal complaint? Ugly asked Jack with her smile. No, I'm good. 100 kilograms is good, Jack answered. Stefan had placed the ball at the center of the throwing circle. He was now gripping the handle and readied himself to swing the ball. He took a deep breath. With a yell, he pulled hard and started to rotate his body. The ball revolved around him with his body as a pivot. He continued picking up momentum while rotating. After rotating 4 times, he released the ball. The ball flew a short distance and landed on the ground not far away. The sound of clapping hands could be heard even though they didn't see any spectators. The sound of a bell then drew their attention to a board by the side of the field. On that board were their names. Beside Stefan's name was written 8.1 meters. I'm honestly surprised he could throw a 100 kilograms ball that far, Winston remarked. I don't find it strange. Our strength stat here gave us a much stronger body than our past world, Jack said. Good, Ugly said to Stefan, who walked back. If you cannot throw past 5 meters, you will immediately be chosen as the sacrifice. Stefan had a cold sweat hearing that. Shouldn't that kind of thing be informed first before the match start? Who is next? Ugly asked. Now that everyone knew that failing to throw a sufficient distance resulted in an instant death situation, most didn't want to go first. If the one who went first failed and the sacrifice was decided, there was no longer a need to continue the match. Seeing that no one came forward, Ugly said, on the count of 3, I will randomly pick one. No need to count. Master walked forward and picked up the ball. Different than Stefan, he used one hand to pick up the ball. Hey, are you sure all the balls are the same weight? Why does his one look light? Winston asked Stefan. Dude, I ain't the one saying that, Stefan said. Ugly asked Winston the same question he gave Jack. Do you want to issue a formal complaint? To which Winston also replied the same way as Jack. Jack wasn't surprised by Master's act. Master's 5 classes provided him with higher strength stat than normal. His level was above average players. Master dropped the ball onto the center of the throwing circle. Unlike Stefan, who immediately spun his body, Master first swung the ball back and forth a couple of times. The momentum generated from those swings gave him stronger force when he spun his body after that. The way he rotated the ball around him was also different from Stefan's. Stefan's rotation was mostly flat on a horizontal plane. As for Master, his rotation was slightly at an angle. After spinning it 5 times, Master released the ball when its position was pointing upward, thus sending the ball upward and allowing it to fly a longer distance. Damn the Euro, he truly knows what to do, Jack remarked. The others nodded. When the ball fell on the ground, the marking next to Master's name was 59.5 meters. Master returned with an expressionless face, but Jack somehow felt the guy was dissatisfied. Jack wondered what the hell he was dissatisfied with after putting on such an impressive display. Little did he know that Master was discontent because he failed to break the hammer throws world record from the past world. Next, Ugly uttered. Jack looked around and saw that no one was willing. So he volunteered. He went and picked up one of the remaining 7 balls. HM? Not too heavy. Is this truly 100 kilograms? He thought. Your strength stat is abnormal, Penuel reminded him. Hehe. Yeah, I have super strength, Jack muttered while grinning. The others were confused why Jack could still grin under their current situation. Jack went inside the throwing circle and dropped the ball while holding the grip. HM. He didn't truly play hammer throw before, but he supposed what Master had done was the right way of doing it. So he copied what Master did. He first swung the ball back and forth before rotating it with rapid spins. His spinning was so fast that people had trouble counting how many times he had spun. Jack himself also didn't count. He just tried to get as fast as possible. Being accustomed to flying under turbulence let him not become dizzy even with such fast spinning. After having the dragon eye skill for so long, his vision had slightly adapted. Even without that skill in effect, he could still aim his throw despite his inhuman spinning speed. Like Master, he was also rotating the balls at an angle. He let go of the metal ball when it was at the highest angle. The heavy ball flew at an arc. The others were watching with open mouths when they saw the way the ball fly. It landed on the ground with a loud thud. They turned to the board beside the field that showed the names. 101.7 meters. Everyone was speechless. They wondered if that ball Jack had thrown was truly 100 kilograms. Master was scowling. Even though he knew Jack's 3 classes had a better strength stat than 4 of his 5 classes, he was still unhappy, especially for losing to this buffoon. Jack's throw was even almost twice his. Jack walked back to the crowd with a wide grin. He made sure to walk past in front of Master, which vexed the ethereal even more. Thanks for the pressure, man, Winston said. You are welcome, Jack replied. Either didn't get the sarcasm or chose to ignore it. Next, Agli called. She was the only one maintaining the same expression throughout the occurrence. Her creepy smile never wavered. Everyone just stayed where they were for so long that Agli finally chose one randomly. You! She pointed at Glover. Glover took a deep breath. He went and picked up the metal ball. Glover never told anyone his level, but from the way he was holding the ball, Jack figured his strength stat wasn't too far from Stefan's. Glover also copied what Master and Jack did. His throw put the ball at a distance of 10.6 meters. A better result compared to Steven. Next, Agli called. This time, Naomi opted to come forward. From the way she handled the metal ball, it looked like she was stronger than both Stefan and Glover. She did mention she invested heavily in her strength stat. She also performed the same movements as the others. Damn it. I'm truly damned by you, Stefan said to Jack, which confused Jack. I have the lowest score because I didn't throw it properly. If I didn't go first as you asked me to, I won't be the lowest one. Jack now understood Stefan's concern. He said to Stefan, have no worries. I promise I won't let you die if you become the sacrifice. That didn't comfort me, bro, Stefan thought while glaring at Jack. Naomi was currently rotating her ball. She also tried to do very fast spins like Jack. However, she had underestimated the speed. She wasn't able to see clearly. When her ball was released, it didn't fly in the direction she intended. The ball flew at a low altitude directly at the group of people behind her. This took everyone by surprise, because the speed of the ball was very fast. Most didn't have the time to react except for Jack and Master. The two moved away as the ball came flying and it smashed into Winston's face. Both Winston and the metal ball landed on the ground after the impact. Orpheuro! Winston groaned loudly from the pain. Under normal circumstances, a 100-kilogram metal ball hitting a man's head at such speed would have squashed the person's head like a melon. Luckily for Winston, this was a game world and currently, he was at a place where he couldn't get damaged by teammates. So aside from the extreme pain in his head, he was not wounded. Oh, I'm sorry, Euro. Naomi apologized. She truly didn't mean for this to happen. But then another concern came into her mind. She had thrown the ball in the wrong direction. Would she be disqualified? Would she be the sacrifice? She turned to the board expecting to see no score beside her name, but it was there. Beside her name was 6.4 meters. I'm not disqualified? Naomi asked. She is not disqualified a euro? Winston yelled amidst his pain. Why? I never said she has to throw the ball in a certain direction or that she cannot hit anything, Ugly said. She has the lowest score for hitting you, so that is her loss. Now that Ugly pointed out this point, Naomi realized she was now the potential candidate for sacrifice. Stefan heaved a relieved sigh, which caused Naomi to glare at him. Next, Ugly called again. Winston was still wincing in pain on the ground. Naomi came to him to apologize and console him. He didn't accept it. After waiting for a while, Ugly pointed at Kramer. You! Kramer felt like he had been given a death sentence. The teenage native walked out slowly to the row of metal balls. When he picked it up, Jack frowned. It was clear that Kramer was having difficulty with the weight. Kramer's level might not be as high as the others. Kramer tried doing what the others did, but he didn't seem to be able to get the momentum due to his difficulty with the weight. When he threw the ball, the others didn't need to look at the board to know that it didn't go past the 5-meter distance. We have ourselves a sacrifice, Ugly announced cheerily. The space around them was rearranged again just like yesterday. The outdoor field gave way to a dark and gloomy indoor chamber. There were again many contraptions around the room. They were having trouble understanding what is what. The second they were in this room, Jack searched around for Kramer. There were only 8 of them standing at the center of the room. This room was larger than the one yesterday, but Jack quickly found Kramer. A wire wall separated the room into 2. Kramer was on the other side of this wire wall. He was bound and gagged. His eyes were looking straight at Jack. Jack could see from those eyes that the boy was terrified. Kramer! Jack called. He ran to the wire wall. Kramer was a human native, which made the boy his subject. His responsibility. Kramer also always treated Jack as his king, even when the others kept on telling him not to believe Jack was the king. Jack couldn't let him die. A native's death was permanent. The wire wall separating the 2 rooms seemed fragile. Jack used his bare hand, attempting to tear the wire wall apart to get to where Kramer was. But the instant his hands touched the wire, he was zapped by a strong electric current. The shock threw him away from the wire wall. Damage number appeared above his head. Without his equipment and passive skills, his lightning resistance was non-existent. His health point was too high, though, so that jolt didn't endanger his life. Ugly materialized in the other room where Kramer was. She made a wave and one of the contraptions above Kramer started moving. The contraption opened and revealed a giant revolving circular saw. This circular saw was slowly lowered. This time, Ugly just gave them 2 words. 10 minutes. She was then gone again. Kramer saw the circular saw above him. His fearful eyes turned bloodshot. He tried to say something, but his voice was muffled by the gag in his mouth. Seeing the boy's terrified expression, Jack couldn't keep his calm. He ripped his ragged cloth and wrapped his hands with the cloth. He knew it wouldn't stop the electricity from damaging him, but he believed he could rip the wire wall apart with his strength as long as he endured the electricity long enough. Everyone could see his intention. Some thought he was being foolish to attempt the impossible. Some thought he was brave for risking himself for a stranger. No one stopped him except for one person. Jack sensed this person came to his side and caught the arm that was about to stop him. "What do you want?" Jack asked Master crudely. "Do you forget already the lesson from yesterday?" Master asked back. The statement reminded Jack. He had indeed been emotional. This was unlike him. This whole king's role did place a heavy burden on him. He was a gamer who liked to do whatever he wanted. No responsibility, no worry, no fear of dying. Despite this game world being the real world, he tried to keep this gaming spirit of his. Yet, the burden of taking care of others was indeed not light. Jack took a deep breath. He forced himself into a gamer state of mind, looking at all these as if from a third-person perspective. Detached. This was how he had always been able to keep his cool under critical situations. "It's all just a game," he told himself. He turned to Master and said, "I never expect saying this to you, but thank you." "Humph. I simply don't want you to waste a team member unnecessarily," Master replied. Jack looked back at Kramer, who was still pleading with his eyes. His determination to save the boy was still there, but he was now looking at the surroundings with calm eyes. The first sacrificial room had taught them that they needed to go through a proper method. Ripping the wire wall apart was most likely an unconventional method. That's why Master stopped Jack. Kramer would likely be killed instantly once Jack destroyed the wire wall. Now that Jack knew there was a puzzle in this sacrificial round, he could see it. If it came to solving puzzles, he believed he didn't lose to Master. There! Jack pointed. Atop something that looked like a cabinet there was a rubber duck. Jack went and took the doll. He then walked to one of the sides of the wire wall. There was a row of 5 open boxes on the ground. The boxes were fixed to the ground and not removable. Jack placed the rubber duck into one of the boxes. The lid automatically closed shut and the light on the box turned green. "How do you know you should put that doll in?" Stefan asked. "Look for things that are out of place," Jack answered and informed the others at the same time. "Once we filled these boxes with such things, Kramer can be saved." Euro. Master was again dissatisfied. He had been looking for the connection between the contraptions in this room like he did yesterday. He never thought the puzzle for today was much simpler that he missed the clues. Everyone started searching around. Jack found another 2 and put them into the boxes. Master found one. Stefan thought he found one, but the box emitted an alarming sound when he put it in. He quickly took the thing back out. When they looked at the circular saw, they found that it had dropped a great deal. Kramer's time had been shaved due to the mistake. Jack warned everyone to not just place the goods carelessly. Everyone needed to show him the thing first before putting it into the box. Everyone started showing him what they suspected to be the correct ones. The more they showed, the more Jack was getting annoyed. The others seemed to just pick up things randomly. It was much better if he just went and looked for the correct one himself. While he was studying all these random things, Master put in the last one and the box closed. A loud sound was heard and they felt the room shaking. "What happened?" Dina asked in alarm. No one could answer her. They then saw one part of the floor open. They went over and looked at the open floor. It seemed like a tunnel, and this tunnel was filled with green gas. Everyone stared at the green gas. It didn't take a genius to know that the gas was nothing good. Jack looked at Kramer on the other side of the room. The circular saw was halfway down already. Kramer didn't have much time. Jack squatted next to the open floor and stuck his hand into the green gas. Grgaha Euro. He gritted his teeth as he felt his hand burn. Damage numbers appeared above him every second. He took his hand out and looked at it. There were burn marks. His health point recovery kicked in soon and the burn marks on his skin slowly healed. He made some estimations. With his speed, it shouldn't take him too long to get through this tunnel. His health point should allow him to last quite some time inside the gas. Unfortunately, all his skills are locked, even the passive ones. Hence, he didn't have health point recovery during combat. He was considered in combat when he was damaged by the green gas. His health point only started recovering after he stopped being in contact with the gas. His health point was not the problem. He had an unusual amount of health point pool compared to standard players. The biggest problem was the pain. The agony the gas inflicted on his hand just now was rather extreme. He honestly wasn't sure if he could bear the pain for long. The others saw Jack's expression and understood his intention. "Do you seriously want to enter that?" Naomi asked. "This is our only way in," Jack answered. "If I go fast, I shouldn't be down there for long." "Don't count on it," Master said. "Why do you say that?" Stefan asked. Master pointed to the room where Kramer was in. "Do you see a hole in the other room?" he asked. "This tunnel most likely leads to a dead end. There should be another puzzle down there to open the other end. This means that you will have to stay down there for as long as you are solving the puzzle." Jack was actually aware of that. When he said he would go fast, he also meant about solving whatever puzzle that was down there. "Just come back here if your health point gets low," Naomi said with a concerned expression. The others except Master showed the same expression. They were touched that Jack was willing to go this far for a stranger. The 2 other natives were especially moved. "I'm afraid we will lose time if I do that," Jack responded to Naomi. I will act accordingly. Wish me luck. Before going in, Jack asked Master, care to give a hand? Your health point is even higher than mine. You can last longer. Having 2 mines down there will help solve the puzzle faster. If you want to be a hero, do it yourself. Don't lump me in with fools such as you, Master replied. My concern is to keep as many members in the team for the end match, but I would rather lose 1 member if it poses a risk to myself. The others gave Master a disgusted look. But then again, they were also unwilling to risk themselves. What right did they have to judge him? Jack wasn't surprised. He already expected Master's answer. Well, at least pray for me then. I will do no such thing, Master said. Jack already disappeared into the green gas when Master was still speaking. They then heard painful screams from inside the tunnel. They expected Jack to come back out any second. Yet the scream was getting softer. It could either be Jack was getting weaker or he was getting further. They hoped it was the latter. That guy was one brave fuck, Winston remarked. Inside the tunnel, Jack was relying on his mana sense to navigate the tunnel. It turned out the tunnel was not a simple straight path. It had several turns. With the green gas obscuring the view, it was easy for people without mana sense to lose their way. They could be walking back to where they came from for all they knew. But as Jack had expected, what was most disturbing was the pain. He felt like he was being burned alive. This green gas worked like acid. If he wasn't sure his game body would recover once he got out of this gas, he wouldn't have been so daring to enter. The anguish caused him to have difficulty thinking. On several occasions, he lost grasp on his mana sense and had to stop to focus. Luckily, Penuel was with him. She couldn't come out to heal him or show him the way, but her voice helped him regain focus. After stumbling through the tunnel for he didn't know how long, he finally hit the end. His throat was sore from all the screaming. He wasn't even aware of doing it half the time. Now, after reaching the end of the tunnel, he screamed again. Partly out of pain, the other part out of fear and frustration because he didn't see anything that looked like a mechanism or a door. He looked at the walls and the ceiling above. They were plain stone surfaces. Did he make a wrong turn? No, his mana sense told him, although there were many turns, there were no branching paths. Down there, Jack heard Penuel's voice. He looked down and saw it. At the corner of the floor was a small square panel. He was confused at first, but after a closer inspection, he realized what that panel was. Fuck me, he cursed in his mind. So, they did include children's game after all. The panel contained a kid's sliding puzzle. It was a 4x4 puzzle that contained 15 blocks. 1 block was empty, allowing someone to slide 1 piece at a time. Each block contained part of a drawing. If all the blocks were arranged correctly, it would form a proper image. Jack secretly celebrated. This was child's play for him. He used to play this a lot when he was a kid. But after working on the puzzle, he found it easier said than done. He was constantly in pain due to the acidic gas. He was also not sure how long he had spent down here. Was Kramer even still alive up there? He had trouble focusing due to these physical and mental tortures. You can do it. Penuel never stopped encouraging him, for which he was very grateful. He wasn't sure if he would have turned back by now if it wasn't for her. After several mistakes, he finally managed to complete the puzzle. When all the blocks were properly arranged, it showed Aglee's smiling face. Fucking Haga Euro! Jack cursed loudly despite Aglee's beautiful face. The ceiling of the tunnel above him suddenly opened upward. From that opening, Jack saw the ceiling in the room where Kramer was. Jack didn't waste time climbing out of the tunnel. His entire body was smoking. He was as if a living meat climbing out of a cooking pot. He lay on the floor panting while his blistering skin started to heal. His health point also started to recover. Without his skills, his health point recovered very slowly. But that was not a problem, he only lost around 30% of his health point. His health point was simply too high. After a few seconds of gathering himself, then only he heard the voices. Some were cheering. Some sounded urgent. A Euro, you crazy motherfucker. You truly make it. Unbelievably, a Euro. Way to go, bro, a Euro. A Euro, hurry. There is not much to me, a Euro. A euro, the circular saw almost cut him. The last voice jolted Jack to alert. He was reminded of the purpose he went through that tormenting tunnel. If Kramer died, then he would have suffered for nothing. He turned and saw Kramer still alive. Kramer was mumbling loudly through the gag, trying to get Jack's attention. The circular saw was dangerously close to his head by now. Jack pushed himself to rise fast but stumbled because his body was still very weak. He propped himself by holding the chair where Kramer was bound. He could see his skin was still in its grotesque burned state. He threw away the concern about himself and focused on Kramer. He fumbled with the strappings that bound Kramer. It was tied with a complex mechanism. He couldn't untie the boy in a short time. He then looked at the circular saw, which was just a few centimeters from Kramer's forehead. The boy was looking straight at the revolving blade so close to him. Jack could see from Kramer's eyes how terrified he was. Jack tried gripping the unmoving part of the circular saw to see if he could stop its descent or try to plug it away. He couldn't do both. The circular saw was very sturdy and it continued to go down at a steady pace. When Jack ran out of ideas and was about to try breaking the circular saw using a punch filled with mana manipulation, he heard Master's voice. "The red button on the side table, you fool." Hearing that, Jack looked over to the side table, which was on the other side of Kramer. He saw the red button Master mentioned. He didn't see this button when he looked around Kramer's room when he was still on the other side of the wire wall. The side table had opened its upper tray and revealed this red button when Jack opened the tunnel's door inside Kramer's room. Jack hurriedly went over and hit this red button using his fist. The sound of the circular saw powering down was heard. Its spinning became slower just as it was touching Kramer's head. A few damage numbers popped up as it did. The circular saw finally stopped and damage numbers stopped appearing above Kramer. The boy was still in shock. He was numb and unable to react. In his mind, he still saw the circular saw turning. A glee materialized next to Jack then. "Congratulations! You have saved the second sacrifice. You will have one team member more than the other teams who fail," she announced, then added, "Now, rest for tomorrow's matches." "Wait, how many more of such matches before the end match?" Jack asked. "Why? Are you not enjoying this game?" Aglee asked. "Who the fuck enjoys such a depraved game? You sick fuck." Jack wanted to scream in Aglee's face. When Jack didn't answer, Aglee said, "We are all here to enjoy. The longer the game, the more fun it is. So, there is no need to worry about when it will end. Now, rest." The room broke apart and rearranged itself. They again found themselves chained in the familiar dungeon. Jack's body had miraculously recovered and his health point bar was full. Kramer was also there beside Jack, safe and sound. "Your Majestia Euro, I owe you my Lifia Euro," Kramer said. He wanted to kneel, but the chains restricted him. Jack waved him off. "I'm just glad that you are safe," Jack said. Kramer didn't say anything further, but he bowed his head as low as he could and stayed like that for a long time, even when Jack asked him to stop and rest. The shock from the ordeal just now was not light for the boy. The others also looked at Jack with different eyes now. Respect and recognition filled their gazes. Some even thought that Jack might truly be the king of Themisphere after all. The atmosphere was ruined by a mocking chuckle from Master. "I see this is how you dazzle people into your camp. Better than you who frighten and intimidate them into yours." Jack talked back. "People respect power. As long as I'm strong, I don't need to pathetically save everyone to make them follow me. They will come by themselves. It is natural, it's survival of the fittest." Survival of the fittest? You do know the fittest mentioned in that phrase wasn't meant for physical strength, don't you? It was meant for the ability to adapt to the environment. A tiger might be stronger, but a cockroach is fitter. A cockroach has a much higher chance of surviving a natural disaster compared to a tiger. Interesting analogy using a cockroach as an example. "I do see you as one," Master said. "It's pointless speaking to you, but I will tell you one thing. The saying that good always triumphs over evil is not empty words. Do you know why? Because all evil care about is itself, just like what you demonstrated today. All evil people wanted is becoming a solo ruler over the population. They want everything for themselves and they think they can do everything themselves, and all they achieved by doing so is alienating everyone else. Remember what you said about numbers. That is how good always beat evil, with numbers. Because good will always have more people on its side. Master sneered. As I've said before, when I become a god, I will crush this stupid rule. Jack wasn't interested in prolonging his debate with Master. He had a more important thing to do. He had an appointment he couldn't be late to and a quest he needed to take care of. Yesterday, after visiting Talia and returning to his body, he found that he had automatically received a new quest. Help Talia escape, difficulty SSS, rewards, 8 million EXP, 100 gold coins, 10,000 mana core, additional rewards possible. Resolve the situation in the Council of Charites and release Talia from her imprisonment. So, Jack stopped speaking to Master and pretended to sleep. The others gave Master unfriendly looks. To them, Jack was now a hero. Master, who ridiculed their hero, was now someone they didn't want to be associated with. Jack might have decided Master be the leader at the start, but from now they would only listen to Jack. Jack focused his mana sense and entered the incorporeal state. He worked himself out of this pocket world and quickly made his way to the Nexus world. Talia told him that whomever she was afraid of should be occupied after the match. Yesterday he spent a few hours finding this Nexus world. Now that he could go directly, he should have plenty of time to converse with her. Took Jack little time to enter the Nexus world. He figured he was getting better each time he did it. This time he didn't appear inside the dungeon where Talia was at. The place where he ended up after forcing his way in seemed to be random. And since he wasn't familiar with this Nexus world, he didn't know where he was at. He tried interacting with the mana of this space, trying to sense its entire layout, but the space seemed to be resisting his poking. He was unable to gauge exactly how big this Nexus world was and where Talia's jail was located. Damn €1, am I going to waste time searching around this place? Jack wondered. That chilling presence he sensed yesterday might have returned by the time he found Talia. Staying around won't solve anything, though. So Jack started roaming around like a haunting ghost. He stumbled upon a large hall with an altar at the center, or what remained of an altar. Jack thought the place looked very much like the hall where he last saw Callan when the divine priest was still alive. Jack approached the broken altar. This is an altar that is the center of power of this divine faction, Penuel informed. Jack was now maintaining a constant link between himself and Penuel during his incorporeal state. Yes, I saw a similar one in the Council of Virtus Main Temple, Jack said. Padoin once said that destroying this altar will cause the members of the faction to receive a debuff. You think that's what happened here? I think whatever happens here is more than a simple debuff, Penuel replied. The broken altar revealed a hole underneath. Jack took a look. It was empty. The divine heritage is supposed to be inside this altar, isn't it? Jack asked. If what Wilted said is true, Penuel replied. If you want to find out what happened here, Talia is still your best option, Penuel said. You are right. I won't learn anything just looking around. Jack went and continued his search for the divine priestess. This Nexus world was larger than he thought, but everything seemed to be in a state of ruins. There was also no indication that the ruined parts were fixed, as if they were intentionally left untouched. Jack felt as if he was wandering through a tomb. I think this Nexus world used to be the Council of Charites' base, Jack conjectured. They moved their original base into this pocket dimension and then brought it to the Sylvan region. Like I said, God-level power, Penuel reminded. Her warning made Jack move faster around the place. They were all empty halls, devoid of people. There was no native, monster, or even animal. After more than an hour since he entered this Nexus world, he finally found the dungeon where Talia was imprisoned. You are late, Talia said when Jack arrived. Jack could only slump with a defeated expression. He was too tired to explain. Using the incorporeal state constantly consumed mana, and he burned more mana when he tried to move faster in this state. He felt more tired now than when he fought monsters for a whole day. I hope my sister won't return early. I will try to outline what had happened, Talia said. But before that, I heard you come here searching for me? You and your sisters. I come carrying a warning, Jack said. Well, a now that warning might sound less menacing because the person I'm here to warn you about is in captivity with me. When Talia's expression showed that she didn't quite catch what Jack was saying, Jack started from the beginning, about the war in Hydrorond and how the gods involved themselves in the war. How hope fell from a fabricated weapon called the God Killer. A weapon that was fabricated from the essence of a fallen god, the divine heritage. Talia was fascinated by the tale. She had been in captivity for quite some time. She knew very little of what was going on in the outside world. Hope has you said courage as well. This means the good gods' camp was now 3 gods less. Talia contemplated. We have the same number as the bad gods. The situation was more complicated, but Jack didn't want to dump all this information on her. When they were freed of this constructed dimension and had more free time to talk, then maybe he would fill her in. You said the person who is after our goddess essence is locked in here with you? Talia asked. Jack nodded. I'm unable to kill him due to the rules in this game your sister forced us to play. Maybe you can talk to a Glee to maybe, strip him of everything he has and put him back to level 1? She can even keep him here for all I care. Unfortunately, my sister who you met is just a husk of her former self, Talia said. What do you mean? It's because she stopped. Her face turned stern. You need to leave. We will talk again tomorrow. Motherfucker for real Mr. Stormwind, that is very indecent, Talia chided. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, Jack said. He was telling the truth. He was cursing in his mind. But because his current incorporeal state let him converse with his mind, he was not aware that he projected the thought to a Glee when he cursed. Still, he had come here to satisfy his curiosity. He hadn't even learned anything yet, and now he had to leave again. Ma'am, you have better started telling me what is wrong here the second I show up tomorrow, Jack said. He then left. Not long after, a beautiful woman entered. Hello, sister. The woman greeted. Talia just gave her a disappointed look. The woman walked around the dungeon as if inspecting the room. The intruder came again, she said. Talia was taken aback by the statement. How do you know? I slightly felt his presence yesterday. I thought it is just my imagination, so I placed a stronger detection enchantment around this place. What are you going to do? Talia asked. I'm going to modify the enchantment. He will be in for a surprise if he comes again. The match for the next day was a swimming competition in an Olympic-sized pool. Kramer was exempted from the match. It turned out that the one who survived being a sacrifice received a free ticket directly to the end match. The native boy was relieved he no longer had to go through an experience like yesterday. Jack and Master were again occupying the top 2 ranks. This time, however, Master was the first while Jack was second. Master proved to be a better swimmer despite Jack having higher physical stats. The last and therefore the sacrifice was Naomi. She was nominated last because she couldn't swim. She was still hanging around the starting place, almost drowned, when everyone reached the other side. With the sacrifice decided, they were transferred to the sacrificial room. It was an even larger room than yesterday. A large pool was at the center of the room, covering 3/4 of the entire floor. They were wondering where Naomi was because they couldn't see her anywhere. That was until Carrie pointed at the pool below. They saw it then. The water was clear, allowing them to see what was beneath it. Under the water was a steel cage. Naomi was inside that cage. When they were wondering what this was all about, a Glee appeared above the pool. The 3rd sacrificial round, she announced. Will the sacrifice be saved today? Or will she perish? After letting a dramatic 5 seconds pass accompanied by the sound of drums which no one could figure out where it originated from, a Glee said, 10 minutes. She disappeared. Following her disappearance, they heard a rumbling sound as if something was opening under the pool. They looked back into the pool and saw a huge deformed black shark swimming out from the wall of the pool. This shark started attacking the cage. The cage seemed to withstand the assaults for now, but they did not doubt that its durability would only last for a maximum of 10 minutes. What should we do? Stefan asked. There seemed to be nothing up here except for what seemed like an icebox at the corner of the room. They went to that icebox and opened it. Inside was chock full of bloody meat. What are these for? Dina asked. Almost all of them turned to the pool upon the question. You don't think €1 these are for that thing, do you? Stefan asked. Let's find out. Jack picked up a piece of the meat. It was a huge chunk and was coated with dripping blood. It was both disgusting and nauseating. Jack threw that piece into the water. The shark, who was just about to ram itself into the cage again, suddenly turned around. With incredible speed, it swam toward where the bloody meat was at. Since the meat had just dropped into the water, its position was still close to the surface. So, when the shark approached, they got a clear look at the thing. It was terrifying. It had 6 eyes, all blood red. Its skin was cracked and layered with sharp thorns. When it opened its huge mouth, 3 rows of saw-like teeth filled that mouth. The mouth chomped the chunk of meat and quickly reduced it into tiny pieces. It continued to go after those pieces of meat. When the meat was no more, it swam back to the cage. €1, should we throw more? Stefan asked. What's the use? Winston said. We are just delaying its progress. There is only one icebox here. Once the meat in this box is gone, it will still go back to the cage. €1, it's a distraction, Jack said. What? Stefan didn't understand Jack's words. Jack turned to Master. You already know, right? You don't say anything because you have already given up on this round. Correction. I would have told you soon if none of you figure it out, Master said. Because I know one of you will gladly take the risk and go down there. Go down there? Dina asked. There is nothing up here except for this icebox, Jack said. That means whatever saves Naomi is down there inside the pool. These meats here are to distract the shark while I go down there to look for clues. Your Majesty, I will accompany you, Kramer exclaimed. He had been exempted from the match, but he was still brought here with the others. That's brave of you, but no. Out of all of us, I and this asshole are the fastest swimmers, Jack said while pointing at Master. Other than the 2 of us, all of you just stay up here. I can't afford to worry about any of you down there. I won't go €1. I know you won't go in, Jack cut Master's words. He then turned to the others and said, You people need to time the meat properly. Throw them into the pool one at a time, and not too fast. Wait until it is finished with the first meat before you throw in the second. Stretch the time it stays on the surface for as long as possible. Stefan nodded. We will buy you as much time as we can. I will be counting on you all, Jack said, and then ran to the opposite side of the pool. When he was in position, he shouted, Okay, throw the first one in. Stefan took a piece of the meat and threw it in. As before, the shark was immediately drawn to the bloody meat. When Jack saw the shark swim toward the meat, he jumped into the water. Inside the water, Jack didn't immediately swim down. He first observed the shark. If their theory was wrong, the shark would ignore the meat and come at him instead. If that happened, he still had the time to climb out of the pool. When he saw the shark ignore him and started biting the meat, he was convinced their method was correct. He immediately kicked the water with all his strength and swam toward the cage where Naomi was in. The cage that held Naomi was farther than what he saw from outside the water. It took him more than 10 seconds to reach the cage. Naomi was very glad to see Jack. She wanted to say something but couldn't. The cage was not the fully closed type. The inside was filled with water as well. Since they couldn't do messages, Jack tried reassuring her using his version of sign language. Dina didn't understand then, and Naomi also didn't. She just nodded repeatedly to express her gratitude. Jack swam around the cage and saw a keyhole at one of the cage's sides. A keyhole €1 means there is supposed to be a key somewhere, Jack thought. He looked around. The key must be in this pool. There was nothing outside unless it was at the bottom of the icebox under all those meats. Jack didn't have the time to go out and check. Stefan and the others had started throwing the meats to lure the black shark. If he went out and the key was not there, he would have to go back into the water with fewer meats left to lure the shark, which also meant lesser time he could spend in the water. No, he would have to search this water now. He looked around the wall of the pool. It was smooth concrete all over the wall. Even the hole which the black shark came out from was not seen anymore. There was nothing on the wall. This could only mean one thing. He had to go deeper. He gave Naomi the signal that he would be back. Naomi, of course, did not understand Jack's weird gesture. Jack then swam down. Jack couldn't see the bottom. The pool was quite deep. The water also got darker the deeper he went. Without his dragon eye's ability to see in the dark, this darkness of the water was very frightening. There should be only one of that black shark, shouldn't it? He thought. He threw his worry aside. He had gone this far, he had to go all the way. He continued swimming. Everything around him was dark. He couldn't see anything. He was just relying on his mana sense to check if he was close to the bottom. His mana sense finally picked up the surface of a floor. It was not a flat surface, though. Jack slowed down and touched this surface. After touching around, he noticed then that this pool's floor was filled with junk. There was something that he thought was a tire. Not a wooden tire, but the modern car tire. He wondered why this thing was in this world. Then there was something that he thought should be the handle of a bicycle. Jack was dismayed. With all these junks, it would be a chore to look for a small key. He didn't waste time complaining. He gave the matter a quick thought before deciding to take a risk. The black shark up there should still be busy with the meats. Nothing should disturb him down here. He stayed still and focused his mana sense. He let his consciousness drift out. In his incorporeal state, his mana sense was enhanced. He could sense better and had a longer range. He immediately scanned his surroundings, especially the floor. It was like a sonar system that mapped out the surrounding, except mana sense gave a clearer result. With this method, Jack located the object he was looking for in no time. He quickly returned to his body and went to his target, which was hidden under what he thought was a modern sink. On the way, he also picked up two things he had detected during his incorporeal state: a long and sturdy metal pipe and a knife. He slipped the knife into his pants and held the pipe with one hand. He arrived at the sink. He pushed it away, and there it was, a golden key that gave off brilliant shine even in this dark water. When he picked up the golden key, he noticed it was not the only thing shining. A loose line of green traces started from where the key was and seemed to lead somewhere. Fluorescencia Euro, Jack thought. Jack realized then, the fluorescence was not leading somewhere. It was supposed to lead people to this key. The proper method of finding the key was to first find this fluorescence trail and followed it. Jack wondered then. The key was still the proper method, so he was still following the correct method. He just found the key using an unconventional way. He was not violating the rule for this round, correct? A rumbling sound answered his question then. Shit! He cursed and hurriedly swam up toward Naomi's cage. Just like how in previous sacrificial rounds, Richard's chain was snapped when they tried to save him using a creative method. Then a mistake during Kramer's sacrificial round was punished by the lowering of the circular saw. This time, there was also a punishment for circumventing the proper method. Jack heard a similar rumble when he was outside the water. It was even louder from down here, but he understood it was the same thing. As he swam upward, he vaguely saw through the dark water. A big hole appeared on one side of the wall and something huge swam out of it. Fuck! 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 Jack cursed nonstop within. He so very much yearned for all his equipment and skills at this moment. He was still quite deep, so all around him was rather dark. He couldn't see properly. He put the golden key into a pocket in his pants and then gripped the knife he had picked up earlier. His other hand held the metal bar. He kept on swimming in the dark, but he was also tensely monitoring his surroundings using his mana sense. He sensed it then. Since mana sense had a limited range, by the time he sensed something, it was pretty close already. He swiveled his body to face the direction the thing was coming from. A monstrous mouth filled with teeth came out of the dark water next to him. Jack placed the long metal bar in his left hand perpendicularly to the monster's mouth, so the two ends of the bar touched the black shark's upper nose and its lower jaw. In this way, the shark's mouth couldn't reach him for as long as the bar held. He was instead pushed back following the shark's charge. At the same time, Jack stabbed the knife in his other hand repeatedly into the shark's face. Damage numbers appeared, but a glance at the shark's health point bar told Jack that this knife's damage was pitiful. He accumulated mana manipulation into the knife and performed one-word thrust. The martial art accurately hit one of the shark's 6 eyes. This wound finally caused it pain. It stopped its charge and swam away. Jack took the reprieve and resumed swimming to the cage. Luckily, the shark's charge was slightly at an angle. The charge had pushed Jack further up and closer to the cage. Jack continued to monitor his surrounding using his mana sense while approaching the cage. The water up here was not as dark, so he could see better, and so did Naomi. Jack saw Naomi inside the cage turning wide eyes and pointing at something behind him. Jack's mana sense also sensed it then. The black shark was back. Jack swiveled back and used the same tactic. The long pipe again protected him from getting bitten. The charge this time slammed him into the cage. The force of the impact caused his metal pipe to bend. Couldn't perfectly stop the shark anymore. The shark bit down at Jack's hand that was holding the pipe. Arha Euro! The pain caused Jack to let go of the pipe. His health point also went down by almost 30%. Jack slashed using one-word / powered by mana manipulation. He was again targeting the shark's eyes. He missed the eyes this time, but the slash still forced the shark back. Jack readied himself to face the shark again. He propped his back to the cage, ready to use the cage to push himself away when the shark came. He gripped his knife tight. This was the only weapon he had now. The shark swam in a circle before coming at Jack again. When Jack was ready to push the cage to dodge, the shark suddenly changed direction. It swam up. Jack looked in the direction it was swimming and saw a slice of bloody meat there. The first shark was still up there munching on another meat. The others had seen the appearance of this second shark and now threw 2 pieces of meat at the same time. Jack gave the ones up there a thumbs up. He wasn't sure if they saw it, though. His hand went into his pocket. He had a brief fear that the key had fallen out of his pocket during his brawl with the shark. He was relieved when his hand touched the hard metal key. He took it out and went to the cage's side with the keyhole. He inserted the key while Naomi looked expectantly from inside the cage. The key turning was slightly heavy, which made the process slow. Jack also found that he had to turn the key several times, not just one time like a normal key. He thought this must be intentional. The sick designer of this game simply enjoyed watching people struggle. But without the sharks harassing him, it was only a matter of time until the cage was unlocked. A click was heard every time Jack turned the key one time. After 10 clicks, one side of the cage finally broke open. Jack gave the signal for Naomi to hurry. This time she understood the gesture. But since Naomi couldn't swim, Jack had to carry her. The two headed to the opposite side of the pool from where the others were feeding the sharks. On that side, Stefan was reaching for another meat but found his hand empty. He looked back at Winston, who was in charge of taking the meat out of the icebox. "There is no more euro," Winston said. The appearance of the second shark increased the consumption of meat. Stefan looked inside the water. He saw Naomi was already freed and the two were halfway to the surface already. But one of the sharks who didn't get meat was now heading toward them. From its speed, it might get to Jack and Naomi before they reached the pool's edge. Everyone watched with apprehension as the black shark swam at high speed. Its massive and deformed dorsal fin cut through the water as the shark swam close to the surface. Because Jack was carrying Naomi, his swimming speed was not fast. His mana sense hadn't sensed the incoming shark, but he saw it while swimming. He tried not to panic. But with him carrying Naomi, he didn't think he could make it to the pool's edge before the monster arrived. When his mind was rushing for a solution, he heard a splash and saw something had fallen into the pool on another side. It was Kramer. The boy had run to the side close to where Jack would be coming out from. He jumped into the pool and was now making big splashing waves to attract the shark. Because Kramer was slightly closer, the shark turned to him instead. "No!" Jack wanted to shout but couldn't since he was underwater. All he could do was try his best to quickly bring Naomi out of the pool before helping Kramer. Kramer saw the shark coming at him. Seeing his plan work, he quickly turned around to get out. but he underestimated his movements underwater. He couldn't move that fast. Even though he was still close to the pool's edge, it took him a longer time than he wished. Panic set in. He turned back and saw the shark was only a few inches away. Its large mouth opened and was about to swallow his small body whole. A hand suddenly grabbed his shirt. He then felt himself pulled by something with incredible strength. He was yanked out of the water just as the black shark arrived and slammed into the pool's edge due to its speed. He fell hard on the floor. Still panting and edgy, he looked up at his savior. It was Master. The other shark, after finishing munching the last piece of meat, also went to chase the intruders in the water. But before it was halfway, Jack and Naomi already climbed out of the pool. Naomi lay flat on the floor while panting. She tried to calm her heart rate down, which was currently beating off the roof. She never liked water. That's why she never learned to swim. She had trauma after watching a shark movie when she was still a kid. What happened just now was like her nightmare came true. Jack looked at Kramer's side. He was relieved to see Kramer was safe outside the water. He was surprised by Master's act, though. "Congratulations, you have saved the sacrifice again today." A Glee's voice boomed from above. "Is this round too difficult? Is it too easy? Leave your comment in the box below." "The fuck is that bitch on about?" Jack cursed within. He didn't voice it out of fear that a Glee might take his voice away again. "Everyone can now rest. We will resume tomorrow," a Glee said. They were then sent back to the prison dungeon. Jack turned to Kramer beside him. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Yes, Your Majesty. Thank you for your concern," Kramer replied. "It is I who should thank you. If not for your actions, Naomi and I might not have escaped. You are very brave." Kramer blushed at the compliment. "Thank you both for saving my life," Naomi said to both Jack and Kramer. Jack waved her off. "Hey, what about us? We aren't exactly doing nothing," Stefan complained. "It is us who lures the sharks away." Yes. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, everybody," Naomi said. Jack turned to Master and said, "Thank you for saving Kramer." Kramer also followed suit. "Thank you for saving my life." Master snorted at them. "I'm sick of you people thanking each other. Just so you know, I saved the kid because it doesn't pose any risk to me. If it does, I would have left him to die. Losing him means I have one less pawn to use during the end match. We don't know what this end match is yet. But considering the setup of these matches, it is safe to assume the more teammates we have, the more advantage it is for the team." Jack turned back to Kramer and said, "There you have it. He is doing it for his own sake. There is no need for you to feel indebted to him." Ohayuro, Kramer said. "Okay, everyone, rest. You all have been great today. As long as we work together, we will also beat tomorrow's round," Jack encouraged. He then closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. He was eager to go meet Talia again. As his incorporeal body came out into the space between worlds, he stopped and observed. Now that he had passed this space several times, he could better sense the links that connected the different worlds into the Nexus world. He wanted to go to Talia immediately but decided to stop and study these links further. "Thesayuro, I think if I can familiarize myself with the energy that forms these links, I can then use it to find the exit from each pocket world." "It is not a real exit, though," Peniel said. "It will take you to the Nexus world, not bring you out from this dimension. The real exit must be in that Nexus world," Jack said. "That's true," Peniel agreed. Jack proceeded to let himself bathe in the mana that formed the link and became one with them. He could now easily interact with them. He should be able to use this link to transfer his body into the Nexus world now. "Too bad I'm currently chained. I can't move around to locate the exit. We will try it tomorrow during the sacrificial round when Agli was not around," Jack said. "I feel bad about the one who is chosen for the sacrifice. I hope it is not a native. I sure hope it is Master." "Highly unlikely," Peniel remarked. "His attributes are too high for him to lose to the others." Jack didn't deny that. He would just act accordingly tomorrow. He now resumed his way to the Nexus world. Instead of penetrating the membrane wall of the Nexus world as he did previously, this time he utilized the link between worlds and entered through the proper door. This way, he knew where he was when he used the link tomorrow. Using the proper door brought him to a fixed place instead of having him appear at random places within the Nexus world like yesterday. After using the link to go through the proper door, Jack came out into a garden. Jack believed this place should once be a very beautiful garden, but now it was filled with wilted flowers. Jack looked up and saw a blank sky. Beyond the garden was a huge mansion. It was still intact but appeared dilapidated. Jack understood that the hallways he had traveled through yesterday in the Nexus world should be inside that mansion. Talia also should be in that mansion. Jack wanted to roam outside to see if he could find the main exit out of this dimension. But he had spent quite some time familiarizing himself with the links between worlds. If he wasted more time, he would have to delay speaking with Talia again and learn what happened to this faction. So, Jack postponed the search for the main exit to tomorrow. He went toward the mansion. Around the garden were statues of children. They appeared to be playing. The statues were very lifelike. Jack went inside the mansion through the main doors. Behind the main door was a huge lobby. It was also filled with statues of children. None of the statues was the same. Every statue depicted a different child in a different posture. Jack didn't have the time to admire the craftsmanship, so he proceeded deeper into the mansion. After roaming around for a bit, he came into a hallway that he remembered from yesterday. He followed yesterday's path and quickly came into the dungeon where Talia was. When Talia saw him, she panicked and yelled, "No! You must leave!" But it was too late. When Jack was still confused by her reaction, chains made of pure energy appeared around him. Jack couldn't move fast in his incorporeal state. These chains quickly coiled around him and bound him. What a euro! Jack tried to free himself, but he couldn't. How can this be? He thought. He was supposed to be incorporeal. Nothing should be able to touch him. Yet, these energy chains held him as if he was a solid matter. No a euro, Talia lamented. My sister had found out about your frequent visit. He lay this trap for you. Euro, Jack tried to break free again. His effort was futile. With a defeated sigh, he asked, "What do you think a glee will do to me?" A glee won't do anything. It's my other sister you should be worried about. Euphysine, Jack asked. Euphysine was one of the council of Charite's 3 divine priestesses, together with Talia and Agli. They were the highest authority within the faction. Talia nodded. What exactly happened to your faction? Jack asked. Talia sighed. It was more than 1 year ago. We stopped receiving any sort of contact from our goddess. Euphysine and I feared that our goddess had abandoned us. Only our sister Agli remained strong in her belief. She encouraged us to continue praying and not lose hope. However, it was hard to do so when your prayers continued unanswered. More than 1 year ago, Jack thought. Perhaps that was when players entered this world. Euphysine took this the hardest, Talia continued. She stopped praying and no longer carried her duties. Because the leaders were divided, so too were our followers. Some left the faction. Some refused to do their tasks. Agli's followers, who were the most devout, remained firm in their belief and chided the others. This caused tension among us. There was even one time when it came to a full-blown fight between the followers. After the incident, Agli called Euphysine to the main hall and reprimanded her. But she just laughed it off. Her dismissal drew Agli's ire and they ended up fighting as their followers did. I tried to break their fight, but it was futile. Because they were fighting inside the main hall, their attacks damaged everything in that hall, including our goddess altar. Euphysine didn't care about it. Agli became even more enraged due to that, and the fight became even fiercer. I tried to protect the altar the best as I could, but I couldn't contend against the power the two of them unleashed together. The altar was badly damaged. But before it was destroyed, we felt something that we haven't felt for a long time seeping out from the altar. It was the presence of our goddess. Agli was very happy by that presence. She quickly went to the altar and knelt for a prayer. Euphysine, on the other hand, was terrified. But she also came to the altar and knelt, begging for forgiveness. I, who had stayed close to the altar, had already knelt before they did. However, we then realized that something was wrong. Our goddess was inert even when her presence was felt. We all realized it then. It was not that our goddess had abandoned us. It was simply that she couldn't answer anymore because she was no longer with us. What we felt in her altar was just her residual essence. Upon the realization, Agli turned mad with anger and grief. She lashed out her power. But this time it was directed at the altar. She refused to acknowledge that our goddess was gone. She instead imagined that our goddess was simply imprisoned in that altar, and she was now doing this to help her out. I tried to stop her, but I was blasted away by her rogue power. Euphysine just stood at the side, watching. Agli's attacks finally destroyed the altar. But as she did, a powerful force was unleashed from the destroyed altar. This force struck Agli square in her chest, and it depleted all her health point in a single strike. We watched with disbelief as our sister died in front of us. I went to my sister and tried casting a resurrection spell on her. But it was to no avail. It was as if her soul was no more. While I was doing that, I didn't notice Euphysine, who went to the altar. She reached into the hole underneath the altar, and when her hand was out, there was a glowing sphere in her hand. It was the most beautiful thing we had ever seen. Additionally, we felt the presence of our goddess from that sphere. Goddess Joy's divine heritage Euro, Jack remarked. That's right. The thing you came to warn us about, Talia said. There is no longer a need for you to worry that it will be taken because it has already been taken by someone worse. So Euphysine holds the divine heritage now? Jack asked. She Euro, I asked her to let go of the sphere, our goddess essence. I told her that the essence was hidden for a reason, that we should leave our goddess to rest in peace. But she refused to listen. The way she looked at the sphere when she first held it in her hand I should have noticed then. She was no longer her usual self. The power of the essence made her drunk. She kept the essence and walked away, while I mourned my sister's death. A few days after the incident, several strange things occurred. Many of our followers went missing. I thought at first that they left, following the members before them. The few that stayed were as if in a blissful trance. They refused to do anything. They just stayed idle and be content with themselves. Then, some of the missing followers, who were also Euphysine's followers, returned. With them were people of the world, from different races. There were even outworlders whom we heard to have entered our world not long ago. All these people were shackled. I confronted Euphysine, only to be met by another dreadful surprise. Beside Euphysine was our dead sister, Agli. She just stood there, unmoving and silent as a statue. I realized then it was Euphysine's deed. She had corrupted our goddess essence and used it to do unspeakable things. She said she had constructed a secret dimension where we can perform our annual game, something that we did for fun to celebrate our goddess. She promised that the game this time would be more exciting and it could be done monthly instead of annually. The people whom her followers brought in would become the first participants in this redefined game. I scolded her and demanded that she let these people go. Instead of listening, she attacked me. With our goddess power in her hand, she easily subdued me. You should have gone to ask for help from the other divine factions, Jack said. Talia was about to say something, but she turned tense. Jack had seen this same expression on her in their previous 2 encounters. Oh, she did try to. A voice that sent chills down Jack's soul was heard. His senses detected someone entering the room. The same chilling presence Jack momentarily sensed the first time he was here. However, this presence was shrouded by intense force. Jack's mana sense couldn't quite read this person. You see, that's why I keep her in restraint. It's also the reason why I have to relocate our faction's base. So the other meddling gods didn't interfere with our fun, Euphysine said. Jack couldn't get a clear view of Euphysine. His perception during the incorporeal state was all relying on mana sense. If Euphysine currently had god-level power, then she was undetectable by mana sense like the other gods or eternal-grade beings unless they purposefully released their energies. All he perceived was void in the shape of a woman. An outworlder who can get into the spirit form impressive, Euphysine said. But what's more impressive is that I sense God's powers inside you a divine treasure and a hope's sanctification. Who are you to hope? Does he know what happens here? Euphysine's voice turned edgy upon her last sentence. Hearing that, Jack seized the opportunity. Of course, Hope knows. You have better let everyone go now, or else you will suffer his wrath. Euphysine was silent for a while. She then spoke again. Her voice had returned to the playful tone the same as when Jack heard her the first time. You naughty child. You tried to trick me, didn't you? Nice try. If Hope knows what happens here, I won't be alive anymore. I very much want to reduce you to ashes for scaring me for a second there, but I've seen your matches. They were very entertaining. I can also see that you had a lot of fun playing my games. Jack wanted to think, fun my ass, you bitch. But he remembered what he was thinking about could be heard in this incorporeal state. He instead asked, You were watching Mayuro? In real time? No, silly. Even though I have become a goddess, I can't be everywhere at the same time. All the matches were recorded. I watched them after the matches. Why do you ask? No thinga just curious Euphysine chuckled. At first, I want to just erase the trespasser who has been so bold to intrude my sanctum and disturb my sister. But after finding that the trespasser is you, I change my mind. You are just too fun for my game. You have to continue playing it. So, you are letting me go? Jack asked. Yes, Euphysine answered. Butayuro, I still have to give you a punishment. After she finished speaking, Jack felt a great void enveloping him. You what are you doing a? Jack shouted. Jack sensed Euphysine's presence magnified. Something that seemed like an orb was floating beside her. This orb radiated divine power similar to when gods released their energies. The void blanketed Jack tightly. He felt as if he was completely wrapped, as if he was encased in concrete. He couldn't move. He couldn't see. He couldn't feel anything. He could still hear Euphysine's voice, though. Mana sense and mana manipulation are the very essences of one's being. They are very difficult to seal. But this is my world. As long as I exert enough will, and if it is only for sealing one person, it is still possible. You are now no longer permitted to use this ability. No mana sense? Then how could he return to his body? When he was worrying about that, he suddenly felt something again. He opened his eyes. He was back in his body. He looked around and found himself back in the dungeon with the others. Your Majesty, are you all right? Kramer asked. You look pale. Nightmare? Stefan asked. Jack realized then that he was also sweating. Yehayuro nightmare. Must be one hell of a nightmare to scare someone like you, Stefan said. Jack was silent. He was back in his body, but he felt like a naked person. He could no longer sense the mana around him. He tried using mana manipulation. He was unable to. Without mana sense, he could no longer do his incorporeal state. Euphysine must have been the one who sent his blind spirit back to his body. Otherwise, he would have been lost forever outside his body. Damn it! Jack cursed within. Without mana sense, I won't be able to detect the exit we will find another way. Penuel tried to console. The next day, the match was again another standard Olympic competition. This time it was archery. Someone else took the first place in this match. Carrie, the native ethereal. Turned out she was an excellent marksman. Jack was in second place while Master was in fourth. Stefan, the draconian player with the hidden weapon specialist class, scored third place. Everyone, except for Kramer and Naomi, who no longer need to participate in the match, was a decent marksman. None of the arrows failed to hit the circular targets. Agli informed them that the first one to fire their arrows outside the circular target would instantly be nominated as the sacrifice. Everyone fired 10 arrows. Everyone hit the target. So, the winners and losers were determined by their scores. The last place fell to Dina, who got the lowest score. When the decision was announced, she glanced at Jack before the space around them was rearranged. Jack understood the glance. She hoped that Jack could save her like he did the others. But this time, Jack wasn't confident. He could no longer sense or manipulate mana. He felt that he was now back to being a normal person. As the space around them reorganized itself, Jack found that he was alone in what looked like a room of a house. "Where are the others?" He asked no one in particular. Agli didn't show up like she used to, but her voice boomed around the room. "The sacrificial round starts now. You are to navigate the maze of this manor to reach the room with the sacrifice. As usual, you have 10 minutes. Beside you are your weapon and ammunition. Since I'm feeling generous today, I will let everyone in on a clue. You may not miss your shot more than 10 times, and I think this is pretty clear already after previous sacrificial rounds. It is not just the sacrifice that can die in this round. Those who try to save the sacrifice bear the risk of dying as well. If you want to be safe, then just stay in your room until 10 minutes passed. Otherwise, good playing." "Ha ha ha." Jack looked to his side at the weapon Agli mentioned. It was a slingshot. Next to the weapon was a bag of small metal balls. Jack counted the balls. There were 20. So, everyone had to score at least 50% accuracy, but on what? Jack picked up the slingshot and tied the bag of metal balls to his pants. He then took out one of the balls and armed the slingshot. "Maze, a Hayuro? This would have been so easy if I can still do my incorporeal state." Jack sighed. "You can still conquer this maze without it," Penuel encouraged. "Yeah," Jack uttered. He had played multiple maze games in the past. He didn't rely on mana sense then. He didn't need one now. After reassuring himself into a proper mindset, he took a deep breath and walked to the only door of this room. He opened it and saw a long hallway. The interior was neoclassical design, but with poor illumination. The dim lighting only came from the candles fixed on the walls along the hallway. The moving shadows that were created every time the flame flickers gave Jack the sense that he might not be alone in that hallway. Jack looked back at the room. It was safe back there. It was just a glance. The thought of safety left his mind as soon as it appeared. Even if he was back to a normal person, he couldn't leave a comrade to die.